of Philadelphia. I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday to all across the Delaware Valley. How great is it? Nothing like a Friday, July the 19th with you. Finally, All-Star break is over. We get back at it, and it's been it's amazing. The All-Star game was Tuesday night, and it felt like a long week, man, without any sports and without the Phillies. So the second half begins in Pittsburgh. Phil's missed Skeens, which it's good, but I'm kind of disappointed because I did want to see them face Skeens. Nola tonight. You got Sanchez tomorrow. Phillips will go Sunday so they can give Wheeler and Ranger an extra couple days. They got moved to the Twin Series. So this weekend you'll get Nola, Sanchez, Phillips, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then Minnesota, you'll get Wheeler and Ranger. And obviously all new. Looking forward to seeing what Ranger can kind of do. Can he get right back to it and that sort of thing. Needed a little bit of a break. We always talk about dead arm, tired arm, however you want to look at it. It'll be great to have them back. Also, the deadline, we're going to be talking about it because it's coming up July 30th. New name that's out there in the rumor mills. And Cedric Mullins from the Orioles. The Orioles have a glut of outfielders. The Phillies have been interested in Cedric Mullins for a couple of years now. Well, now they have the Orioles farm system stacked, right? Like they got a lot of outfielders. So there's a lot of talk that maybe Mullins could be the center fielder because they do want someone that can field and hit. He's having a down year, but I do like him because he's got pop, he's got speed in this ballpark. He's a good ball player. I think he'd fit in well. So the only thing is he's lefty, but I do like he kind of interests me more than we were talking about it earlier. Taylor Ward from the Angels, Tommy Pham. I'm not in love with that. Jim Bowden, the former GM, said this on MLB. He said Philly's number one priority is center field, and we kind of knew that. So we'll see. Cedric Mullins is the new name out there. All right. So, but today's going to be a fun day today because we always knew that All-Star Week's a slow week in the world of sports. We wanted to do something that's fun. Like we love to do rankings and lists, and right. So this week was rank week across all of PHLY. So each of our beats, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, they did their own rankings. They ranked the top 10 memorable games since 1980. So we took 80 as the cutoff, and we wanted to come up with the top 25 most memorable games since 1980 all across Philadelphia sports. So, in fact, we have the list. It's out. I highly suggest you go to allphly.com, go to our website, and read the piece. It's really, really good. All of our people wrote about it, why they chose it, a little snippet about each game. We're going to go over this today. Of course, it's Popping Off, brought to you by Olipop, your favorite soda that's good for you. You can find it at Wawa, Whole Foods, you name it. Olipop. Good morning, JP, John Zapata.
Buenos dias.
Good morning, VG, Violations Greg.
What's up?
Capucho.
That's it. That's what they say.
You like Mullins?
In theory, I did. Then I started digging around. I'm not too excited anymore. When I read the name, I was like, yes. And then I was like, the last 2 years, he's been...
Well, this year down for sure. Last year, 233 in this era.
14 dingers in 15? Baltimore, 15. Yeah.
Playing 2 years ago, you remember the Phillies were hot after him.
Yeah.
Before the Orioles really started to get good and all their call-ups came up.
2020, 2021, I was definitely looking at Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
I'm curious why the center field would be the focus. I feel like with Rojas and Marsh platooning, you're okay. Defensively, you're good, and the bats are okay. I feel like a corner is what they need.
I thought the same thing.
I don't understand the center field.
Get a little more power.
I thought the same thing. I thought that they would look for a right-handed bat that could play the corner.
Yeah, I like the rotation of the platoon of Rojas and Marsh.
I guess they want to put Marsh in left, and they just want to replace Rojas and have Rojas come in.
I don't think that's because Topper at some point said that he's not even in consideration to bat against left-handed batters.
I know.
Pitchers,
No, he's
the way he's hitting.
Well, Tyler Zulli brought up yesterday on the Philly show. He's 143 against
lefties. He struggled. No. And that's one of the reasons why. But I guess they don't want Rojas, right? So I think that's
can't trust him at the plate.
That's their biggest issue right now, and that's why they want to go get a center fielder.
Yeah.
And then this way you have a lot of you have options out there.
I know when you brought up the name, I was like, wow, yeah, I really did used to want Cedric Mullins, but now it's it's a different.
But it's interesting. Cedric Mullins is left-handed, right?
I know.
Also, doesn't make sense.
Because you really need a right-handed bat. Because if you're talking about Rojas, you need a right-handed bat.
Yeah, they haven't recovered from losing Reese from the right side yet.
Yes.
They still need to do that.
He was the one thing about Reese was he'd take pitches. He was just that guy that helped your order.
Yeah, and he bounced it out a little bit.
Yeah,
They're a little off balance right now.
Yeah. All right, so we got the top 25 most memorable games. We did this exercise last week. In fact, we had this whole kind of powwow where all of us, JP, VG, me, the Skeeves, our man Andrew Frazier, producer, we were all together and we were all talking about, we went through the beats.
Yeah.
And each beat did their top 10, and it was our job to whittle it down to 25.
Yes, we went from 40 to 25.
So we were the old heads over here. We're freaking out. We were like, you can't forget this game. You can't forget that game. And then we're giving you guys history lessons.
Yeah.
God, I was like, am I that old that we remember this stuff? Oh man! So let's go through the list. All right, boys, and we're going to go 25 to 1, and then we're going to have on all of our guys. All right, we'll have Bill Matz to talk Flyers. So we'll get with him. We'll have Kyle to talk Sixers. We'll have Jimmy Salisbury to talk Phillies, and Bo Wulf to talk Eagles.
Can't wait.
And so we'll go through all of those games, kind of relive it. It's a whole Rite Aid back in the moment whole show, reliving these most memorable games. This is it, because after this week, Phillies are back, Eagles will start camp, football, the whole thing, and we're going to arc toward the best time of the year.
Oh yeah,
which is September, October, and the whole thing starts over again. We love it. All right, coming in at number 25. This was May 20th, 2004, Game 6 against the Lightning. Eastern Conference Finals, Flyers and Lightning. That was a great series. It went 7. It was a series of attrition. The Flyers lost defensemen, but that Game 6 was an amazing game, overtime game. Simon Gagne wins that game in overtime.
Yes. I don't really. I got to be honest.
You remember that one?
I'm out on this one. I don't have a great memory of a lot of great Flyers games for some reason.
All right. Well, I like this, right? So if you guys remember this stuff, you chime in, all right? Because I'm weird with these games.
Yeah, you're like Rain Man.
Yeah, I'm a little on the spectrum.
I mean, I'll be honest. 2000.
I am. Listen, I had weird memories and stuff of that sort.
2004, I was all giddy on the Eagles, cuz I'll be honest with you. But I've seen the highlights of it. It was an impeccable game, and like I told you earlier, Simon Gagne deserves a little more talk in the city, I should say.
Yes, you love Simon.
You guys.
By the way, you look good with your clean shave. You get ready for the wedding.
It's a married look, guys.
JP gets married a week from today.
He looks like he's 12.
He does. You look good, buddy. They're like the old grandparents. He's like, shave. You're so handsome. You gotta shave.
All right, so listen. Andrew shaved. Cuz is shaved. VJ.
No, he'll never.
Not too much.
That's his look. He's got his own cartoon cat, like his caricature with that.
Yeah, I like that.
It's cool. That's his look. He'll never change
I just
that look.
can't ever imagine VG ball like shaved completely.
No.
No, not completely.
Did you have it? I first met VG almost 25 years
The
ago.
old
Probably.
neighborhood.
Did you have the goatee?
I did. It started in 1993.
All right.
Wow.
My college roommates, we all did a who can hold out the longest without shaving. And I won. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep this part of it. And I've had it ever since.
And you never shaved?
I mean, I was in a near-death car wreck where it was shaved off and stuff. It's been shaved a couple times. But I've always had it for the most part.
All right. 24. Sixers 0-1 playoffs. Game 7. Raptors. Vince Carter misses the shot at the buzzer. Sixers win 88-87. Vince Carter graduated North Carolina the day before. A lot was made that he went to the graduation, showed up, had his chance to crush us at the Wells Fargo Center, and he back rims it.
Because I think this game's going to tie into another game we're about to talk about in this list. But yes, it was entertaining.
23, Phillies, October 6th, the division series, game 1 against the Reds, Friday, twilight, Roy Halladay,
That was a good one. I remember that one.
Chooch running out.
impressive.
Remember the dribbler right in front of the plate?
Yes.
Chooch gets out like a cat, throws the first.
Yes.
No hitter goes out. Doc charges Chooch, hugs him, tackles him. Oh, it was fabulous.
First stars
that
of
was
Philly in the playoffs. man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Exciting, man.
2010. All right, number 22, December 19th, 2010. Eagles, Giants, Miracle of the Meadowlands, Roman numeral 3, Deshaun Jackson. Don't kick the Deshaun. They do it, and Deshaun fumbles the ball, picks it up. Giants over pursue, and he's off to the house.
I remember this one like it was yesterday, cuz. Like I wonder, because here's the thing. I was like 14 years, 15 years old at the time. I literally changed the channel once it was like 35-7. And then something in my head, I was like, you know what? Let me just go check back real quick. Let me just check to see they didn't score another touchdown. And then that's when they started scoring one after the other. And next thing you know, Deshaun Jackson scored the game winner.
It's like Freddy versus Jason versus Freddy part. I can't believe there's 3 Miracles of Meadowlands.
I know.
When does it end?
It's unbelievable.
Part 3.
Coming this fall.
This year is part 4, man. Yeah. That's it, boys. I love it. All right. Coming in at number 21, Phillies, 1993, Braves, Game 6, Tommy Green. And the Phillies beat the mighty Atlanta Braves to get to the World Series.
Always fun beating the Braves in the playoffs.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Green, who would expect that? Who would have thought
Nobody, right?
Nobody.
Like, it was incredible. Coming in at 20. This is one of my favorite games. This was the opener against Washington, Chip Kelly's first game. And it was a video game.
Yeah.
They looked. I remember watching the game. It was a Monday night, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, mouth is ajar. Like, oh my God, I'm agape. Can you believe it? How in the world this team? They're unstoppable. They were lightning fast. Vic was like throwing dimes. They couldn't touch him. Shady's going. Deshaun over the top. They were like unstoppable.
The other team were huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
They didn't know what was happening
It
to
was
them.
outrageous. It was one. That's a game. Like, and it's funny because after that game, it was like a steady slope downward with Chip Kelly.
No, for sure, man. That was a fun offense.
That game was ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, 19. This is game 2 against the Brewers in 08. And of course, that's the CC Sabathia game. All right, which was awesome. You remember CC was ridiculous. The Brewers get him at the deadline. They throw him on 3 days rest for the rest of the season. He's unhittable. He's unbelievable. All right, he's got a spell of wildness. And of course, the fans are going nuts, right? And Citizens Bank, CC's all jacked up. Adrenaline races through his veins, and he gets wild. He walks Brett Myers.
That's the thing. He had a meltdown against a pitcher.
Yes. And then Victorino with the grand slam.
Grand slam.
That was fabulous. Number 18. This is game 7 against the Wait, which one's this one?
Where you at?
Where you at, number?
I'm looking at my list.
18. Yeah, game. That's the Kawhi.
Oh,
Triple
God,
doink.
yes.
That's
What am I saying?
Triple
This
doink.
is, yeah, so we're doing most memorable games. And, oh, God. Oh, God.
That's where we hit a rough patch of games
Heartbreak.
Well, that's why I said karma. Vince missed it in
Yeah, and
01.
Kawhi makes it.
It's karma,
Yeah.
cuz.
Yeah, 2019. That was, and we found out later that Jimmy Butler did not go to shoot around that day of game 7. He was staying at a different hotel than the rest of the team. Then we found out about the rift between him and Brett Brown and him and Tobias Harris. And of course, they chose,
Jimmy was right.
wrong. And they let Jimmy walk.
Think about it. Jimmy scored the last bucket before Kawhi hit that shot, too.
I know.
He had the last layup.
Yeah. Number 17. This is a stretch of their memorable games, but they're disappointments. Joe Carter, 1993. There it is. Game 6. Fry those Phillies. All my boys, Boo and Tooch, Vinny, and all those guys, they drove up. I was living in Chicago.
Man.
Wow.
They drove up for that game.
Jeez, that's got to suck.
Joe Carter.
Brutal. That was such a
Gotta
gut
go to
punch.
Canada as well. Like,
Yeah. 16. The Eagles, 19. Oh, this is the Fog Bowl, 1988. And I remember I was watching with my cousin. We're sitting there, and the fog is rolling in, and we were all excited. Buddy they flew into Chicago on a Friday, right? The game was on a Saturday. They flew in on a Friday. They're in 2 buses. They take the buses around the loop of Chicago, which is downtown Chicago. They're blaring their horns. The Eagles
That's
are
pretty cool.
here. The Eagles are here.
That's
right?
pretty cool.
Freaking out. And they were moving the ball up, and Randall looked great. This was going to be it. Super Bowl run. And then the freaking fog off of Lake Michigan comes in, turns the whole place opaque. You can't look in front of your hands. You
Literally.
can't see.
Do you remember, like, I saw some, like, the NFL film stuff, like, where, like, the reporter was literally on the field, and, like, you could see, like, the fog behind, and there was literally the game going on, and you literally couldn't see anything.
No.
No, the broadcast was not. You couldn't see any of it.
How did they play that game, though? Like, that's what I
It's
asked you
unbelievable.
before. Like, I was like, how do they, because you couldn't see anything.
See, in this day and age, you would never play that game.
No.
You would not. Like, they would suspend it until the fog lifted.
Yeah.
They would never have done it.
Goodell probably have some kind of vacuum machine that would just suck the fog up. Some giant fan.
Yes.
He's not messing around with fog.
Yes. All right. The 15. This was the Keith Primo game.
Yeah.
May 4th, 2000. Eastern Conference semifinals. Penguins. 5 overtimes.
I mean, this is high up for me. One of my favorite all-time Flyers games.
I know. I love that game.
Yeah.
It was a war of attrition. They were ordering pizzas.
To be in the city at that time, people were out at like 2 o'clock in
I
the morning.
watched the game at a bar, Matty Brown's.
Yeah.
Right
around the corner from
on
me.
South Street.
Yeah.
So I watched the game at a bar, and they kept the bar open because the game ended like whatever it was, 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Can't end that game.
It was awesome. October 25th, 1987. This is week 6 against the Cowboys' revenge off of the Scab team. And this was the fake nail down by Randall. The fake, it was unbelievable.
Never done before.
Yeah, this is one of the games where you guys had to educate me on because I had no idea about this game, and that is awesome. And I love hearing some of these buddy stories because, like, the one thing about Philadelphians, we're so proud. We're proud of being from Philly. We're proud of our teams, and Buddy also instilled some pride too.
It was unbelievable. In fact, as I'm going through, remember, check out the piece. We did an article. Here it is. right here on allphly.com. And so you can read it, check it out. This is, as we go through that list, that game that we're talking about, which comes in at number 14, it was awesome. Like, it was the Cowboys. They had rubbed their scat team into it here. And then Buddy goes nuts. Like, it was awesome.
Because Buddy was playing with he had no players. The Cowboys had like a decent amount of players cross the picket line.
Cross the line,
yeah. Just smashed the whatever trash Buddy Ryan was playing with. Man, the look on Tom Landry's face when that fake kneel down happened. Oh.
He throws a bomb to Mike Quick. And it was a pass interference at the 1 yard line. And then they run it in for a touchdown.
Yep.
It was the greatest. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Real quick, let's kind of go through it because we're going to talk to all of our guys. Number 13, the 08 stares into the night against the Dodgers.
Into the night.
Yeah.
Which was an awesome, incredible game. 12, 1987, Game 6 against Edmonton, against the Oilers. The mighty Wayne Gretzky, Yari Curry, Mark Messier, Edmonton Oilers, and that was the J.J. Daigneault goal.
Jeez,
Probably my favorite Flyers moment.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Always running the dynasty, the Flyers.
At 11, of course, 2001, the step over.
Yeah.
Tyronn Lue. There's AI. AI was awesome. and they steal game 1. And we're like, oh, my God. There's Shaq and Kobe. And there's AI step over. Oh, fabulous. Of course, the rest of it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was a great game. How about the body bag game coming in at number 10?
Best name.
That was unbelievable. Brian Mitchell, who later comes here to return punts, is forced into the game after the Eagles knock out their first two string quarterbacks.
They knocked 6 players out?
It was unbelievable. And think about it. They dub it the body bag game.
Yeah, they were just like limping off the field. These players were hurt.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was funny because the body bag game, there was another one in Houston, and they called it the House of Pain game. You brought the house, we brought the pain. What? Like, how great is
Like,
that?
anyone who doesn't understand why, like, Buddy Ryan's a folk legend.
Right,
It's
like,
just
come on. Like, seriously, it was ridiculous. It was so cool.
He had a lot of great moments.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable, really. How about this one? Number 9, of course, the 2018 NFC Championship game against the Vikings.
So awesome.
The return. How about it? That was the moment, right? Because we turn around, the Vikings are up 7-0.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was a little worried.
And then they get the ball back and they're driving.
I was at that game with the bro. That might have been the moment.
That's the moment.
Might have been the moment in
CVG.
because we were at that game. And we were at the game
pick
before.
6,
Yep.
and then Nick Foles gets hot. Foles. And at the end,
let's go,
Foles.
Yeah.
That was outrageous. Number 8, May 31st, 1983, the last title for the 76ers as Mo Cheeks, the exclamation mark, the junk that sweeps the Lakers.
And then
impressive.
he's like leaping and skipping afterwards.
Yeah, but beautiful. Game number 7. This was, I thought, a miss. We had to add this. This was game 5. Philly Stros, Nolan Ryan. Remember back then, way back in those old days, they went to 5-game series. And so it wasn't 7, it was 5 games. And every game was like an epic game to get to the World Series. And they win in the Astrodome, game 5.
4 of the 5 extra innings, right?
Yes.
This is one where you had to educate all of us on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was one I felt
A
strongly
little
about.
disappointed.
May 23rd, 1982. This is number 6 overall. The 1982 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 against the Celtics. The Sixers had a 3-1 lead the year before. They lose. They 3 in a row. Well, this year, that year in 1982, the Sixers again had a 3-1 lead. They lost 2 in a row to go to the Garden on a Sunday afternoon, Game 7.
Oh my God.
And they had fans were dressed in sheets, the ghosts of the Boston Garden. And nobody gave the Sixers any chance. And the Sixers won. They blew them out. That's my
boy, Andrew Tony had a big game.
That's it, 43.
Boston Strangler.
43.
Yeah.
That's when he got the name, the Boston Strangler. That was awesome. Number 5, Flyers down 3-0 in the series.
There we go.
All right, down 3-0 in the game. Laviolette calls the timeout. Let's play with some jam, right? And oh my God, the Flyers, they're going to get 3-1, and they make it 3-2, and the tire, and the Flyers go on, shock the world in Boston.
Not just one of the best Philly sports games of all time, because it's one of the best NHL playoff games of all time.
Oh my God. Like the series, you're down 3-0 in the series. You get back to tie the series, you fall behind 3-0 in Game 7, you come back to tie it and then win.
That season was fun, man.
That was a great one. Number 4, of course, 1980, Game 6, Phillies, Royals.
Tug
McGraw. That was what you remember the pop up, the Bob Boone Pete Rose, right? So it's unbelievable. Bob Boone flubs the pop up. It's in foul territory. Pete Rose scoots over from first and snags it out of the air for the out.
You ever saw that? Oh
no.
Yeah. It pops out of Boone's glove, and Pete Rose is right there to grab it for an out.
Ridiculous.
Jeez.
Of course, number 3 overall, January 11th, 1980. The 1980 NFC Championship game against the Cowboys.
Wilbert.
Yes, Wilbert's run, where he goes off tackle to the right side, a gaping hole in the Cowboys' front, scoots into the second level, and then he's a blur into the end zone, 20-7. The Birds, they made the Cowboys wear the blue jerseys.
Yeah, it's such a thing back then.
Yeah, they were unlucky, the blue
awesome.
jerseys. Yeah. The Cowboys, the Eagles knew what they were doing.
Tom Landry and his frozen face.
Vermeil, yes. I was a little boy at the game with my father.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Number 2.
Longest game
Of
ever.
course, October 27th, 2008, resumption of Game 5 after the rains stalled Game 5. Phillies were up 1-0. Major League Baseball did not want to end the World Series after a long rain delay. The game was complete. They allowed them to come back. They played, refused to stop it. The Rays, off a missed pop-up by Utley, because he can't see, tie it at 1. The game gets suspended. Yeah. And, of course, we know what happened on that next night. Jeff Jenkins. And, of course, number 1, everybody has to get number 1,
this
right?
Is no-brainer.
Finally, after all those years, Saint Nick delivers the Eagles the first Super Bowl. BG, Brandon Graham, strip of Brady, and that was it. Because still that point, you're still worried about Dracula taking him down the field after the Eagles had to go ahead.
One of the most entertaining football games, and obviously the moment we all were waiting for here in Philadelphia.
Philly.
Philly.
Think about that. And I love the mic up where he goes over and Doug's going. He's looking at his chart. He's got the glasses, right? The reading glasses. And want to do Philly? Yeah, let's do it.
They're so casual.
I know.
Philly.
Right before halftime. Let's do it.
You know what else makes that play great is that the Patriots kind of ran a similar play like a drive before that too, with Tom Brady going out for
they did.
And then he
flubbed it.
He flubbed it.
And then Nick Foles
and then they do it.
Scores it.
Yes.
That was the backup quarterback, and he's just so like
dude.
Philly. All right, yeah,
There's a
let's
full
do
court
it.
Oh,
here in Philadelphia.
And it just like that. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh God!
Right, and again, if you don't get that at halftime,
Yeah,
Patriots got all the momentum, and Oh, my God. And they were already on the comeback trail, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Cooks gets knocked out of the game.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big moment.
Yeah.
And then they were going to Gronk. Remember they were going, oh, man, it was Gronk all day.
It's maybe a little biased, but I think that was the best Super Bowl ever. Most
It
entertaining
was.
game.
I mean, come on. It was the greatest. It was just
So much
fantastic.
offense.
Oh, my God. What great memories. All right, this portion of the program brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook and Casino app. All right, we're going to go through. That's the list. Again, you can check the story out, allphly.com, kind of go through it. We're now going to go to each team, all right? And we're going to go through each team and look at the top 10 that the guys came up with. So let's go to Bill Matz, all right? And we got Bill for the top 10. And because we went through it. Hello, Bill. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
So this was a fun exercise, going through the 10 most memorable games of the Flyers. Now, what was your criteria?
My criteria was the stakes of the game, how memorable it was, and really just like what sort of impression it leaves on you. Do you have a story to go with that game, however many years later?
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, you and I beefed over one game. Is that correct?
We did, yeah, and it wasn't so much. Both of them were in my my top couple of games, but it was the 2005 overtime game against Pittsburgh and the the 04 Game 6 against the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah, he thought that those should be flopped. Now, I don't know. That Primo scores the goal, the winning goal. Remember, he was maligned, the fans were expecting. First, he didn't live up to the hype coming over, right? And then they had the Nielsen thing where Roger everybody thought that Primo throws Roger Nielsen under the bus. It was like a backstory with him. And he comes in after this attrition. You're going 6. It was unbelievable. 5 overtimes. And it was 2:30 in the morning. Those guys were eating everything they could just to put fuel in their bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. The 5 overtime game, what Charlie and I decided yesterday, because I guess maybe we just have a better memory of 2004 being, not young, but younger.
Yeah.
The 04 game is, it's a Game 6 to force a 7. It's the Eastern Conference Final, and it's huge in Flyers history. And to us, the 5 overtime game is, that's just a big hockey game that the Flyers happen to win. That's like a huge national story. Whenever a playoff game goes to a second overtime now, everyone's looking at each other. Oh, do you think this is going to be like Pittsburgh in 2000? It could go till 3 a.m. I just think it's not. It just doesn't carry the same weight here as it does nationally. And the 04 game, that's a Flyers game.
VG?
I think it may not carry a certain weight with certain age groups. I mean, for me, it's probably number 2 in my Flyers experience. No, I had a question. Did you guys give any thought about the 1987 finals game against the Canadiens with the pregame brawl?
That one didn't quite make it for us. I mean, going back to I tried to do my best to go back to the 80s and serve and kind of serve that audience. But at the end of the day, it's going to be mostly games that I saw and I can tell a story about. Now, yeah, 87 Game 6 against the Oilers. Absolutely, that's going to make it. I watched that on Comcast Sportsnet Classics. Saw it a bunch of times. But if it's not one of those
planet before you were born.
That's good.
Life existed.
There absolutely was, and it's up to other people to keep those stories alive. I can only tell my stories, Ant. That's all I can do.
Yeah, but in this exercise, you go back to 1980. Vince Pellegrini, who put this thing together, it was his brainchild. He said, go back to 80. That was your task, and you failed.
I mean,
I think we toast before there's a brawl. Pat Croce's out in his shower shoes
Yeah, shower
on
shoes
the
are out
ice.
there.
Final.
It's a
They
legendary
locked
game.
Hextall in the closet because they were afraid he'd get kicked out of the game.
You had players hiding behind curtains so they could shoot a puck into a net at the end of a practice warm-ups. Come on.
You
It's like a
flubbed that.
folklore legendary game.
See, they're not all going to be winners, Ant. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, we got the unbeaten streak in there. We got 87. We did have some 80s representation,
All right,
despite Charlie and I
your
being
list.
born in the late 80s.
All right, let me go through your list. Okay. You got the 2019 Stadium Series against the Penguins at the Link. Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool moment.
I mean, not better than
Awesome
Canadians,
moment.
but all right. The 1997 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 3 against the Rangers. That was Lindros.
Lindros hat trick. That's right. Yeah, it's Lindros against the Messier and Gretzky Rangers. Huge one.
0-4 brawl against the Senators.
If I had my way, it might be 1 or 2 on this list. 419 penalty minutes. Martin Havlat just hiding in the penalty box the entire time. Refuses to accept his comeuppance. Absolutely outstanding.
See, he loves all the penalties and stuff. We had like 200 penalty minutes before the game even started. There was
Because
no
you know what?
referees on the ice.
Bill Matz is a goon. He's a goon.
Yeah, he's got a.
He looks like a goon. He acts like a goon. He's a goon.
He's got a great shirt on today too. Nice Misfit shirt.
I just gave him the Shoresy accent. That's all, Bill.
I love it. You're a lovable goon. All goons are lovable, and you are a lovable goon. The 2010 final game of the season to get into the playoffs. That starts the epic run and the shootout. Flyers were horrible in the shootout and somehow beat the Rangers in 04.
It's Brian Boucher versus Henrik Lundqvist in a shootout. Obviously, it's going to go our way. Why wouldn't it?
2010 Cup Final, Game 3 against the Blackhawks.
Flyers are down 2-0. They come home. They need this. This is my first Stanley Cup Final game in Philly since '97. It's the first win in a Stanley Cup Final of my lifetime. Claude Giroux wins it at overtime. Beautiful.
Yeah. 04 Game 6 Toronto.
Jeremy Roenick in overtime. Darcy Kemper knocks out Sammy Kapanen. 30 seconds later, Jeremy Roenick jumps on the ice, 2-on-1, buries it top shelf.
I love
Toronto
it.
hasn't gone that far in the playoffs since.
JR is underrepresented. We were talking about, VG brought him up yesterday about how JR is a great fly. Like, as great as he was, and obviously he was a Blackhawk, he'll always be a Blackhawk, but he came here, he was still great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just brought attitude. He was a winner. I mean, he had an aura about him.
Yeah, superstar.
Yeah, superstar.
I love JR. To this day, JR is still one of my favorites. He's awesome. Of course, the 5 overtime game, 2012. This was a great game. Game 6 against the Penguins.
Yeah, this is Claude Giroux's defining moment as a Philadelphia Flyer. Gets the first shift against Crosby, lays Crosby out, scores a goal. The Flyers go on to win the series, win this game. And it was the Penguins had been the rival for years. They couldn't beat them in the playoffs in 08 and 09. And then finally we toppled Crosby. And for that one day, for that one series, Claude Giroux was the best player in the world. Now, he didn't continue to be, but on that day he was.
That series was wild.
The shame is like that was the great tease, right? Like that was the last great moment of the franchise. I'm not going to count the COVID year and the bubble. That was really it. The franchise from that went like that.
Absolutely.
Then you got the Eastern Conference Final game that you love against the Lightning. You got the down. I still think this was just amazing. We were just talking about it. The down 3-0 and Game 7 against the Bruins. Laviolette. I love Laviolette. To this day, I still love Laviolette.
No, he was called that timeout. He became a legend with that timeout.
Give us the jam one more time.
Yeah, let's play with some jam.
That's awesome.
He's the greatest. And of course, your number one moment is
It's 1987. It's that the night the spectrum shook, and I wanted to. For me, yeah, it's probably 2010, but I wanted to pay homage to those 80s teams. And listen, it's the Gretzky Oilers. It's the greatest team ever assembled. And did they beat them? No, but they took them to 7. And in that final home game, JJ Daigneault scores. The place goes wild. That's another great Comcast Sportsnet Classics game.
that is
Respect for throwing us old heads a bone.
Billy. Great stuff, man. That was so much fun. Fun exercise, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a really good time getting to debate these and hearing the debates of every sport in the office. The office has been alive the last 2 weeks with everybody just yelling at each other about which games should be where and which miracle at the Meadowlands was and wasn't a miracle. Like it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And in the chat room, they said this is like Bill doing his oral defense of his dissertation.
I love it. Listen, Billy, great stuff, buddy. All right. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you very much. Take it easy, gentlemen.
All right.
See you,
There he
Bill.
is, the
See you,
goon,
Bill.
the great goon, Bill Matz.
The man
All right,
himself.
let's now go and talk a little Sixers. And we got from our all PHLY show straight from Vegas. He's back home. My man, Kyle Neubeck. Kyle, good morning.
Back home from Vegas and suffering through an illness right now, Anthony. You can't. Nobody should be in Vegas that long. We talked about this yesterday.
We did. You were there, 8 days?
8 days. So I didn't reach your account that you said you got to for Tyson Holyfield and all that fallout. But 8 days, more than enough for me.
Yeah, it's too much. You can't spend more than 3 days in Vegas.
Yeah.
I had to be there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
After when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, they didn't know if there were charges against him. Then they were going to strip him of his license. So they had a hearing for the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So I had to cover it. I was like, oh my God. But I had it easier than you did because mine was probably either in the spring or the fall. I forget when the fight was. But you had it in the dead of summer where it's 165 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I thought I was going to melt at least a couple of those days, Anthony.
Yeah.
You're walking around to these different places and you don't realize how hot 115 degrees is until you feel 115 degrees. But look, we lived to tell the tale, and we're back in Philly now where all of us belong instead of Las Vegas.
I feel you, brother. All right, so this was a fun exercise. You can check out Kyle's top 10, our all PHLY Sixer guys. So you, Devon, and Derek do this top 10. What was it like coming up with this top 10? I thought you guys did a good job.
Well, honestly, Anthony, I think Devon was the spearhead of this because I was hurting in Vegas and I'm hurting now. But as I went over it after Devon, kind of took the lead on this, the thing that really stuck out was, man, a lot of these moments are a long time ago. And the Sixers' best days are before I was alive. And, that whole, it puts into perspective, like, man, Sixers fans need something. Sixers fans need that new generation of fans, the kids who are coming up. Like, I, at least as someone who, I was born in 89, right? So that 2001 run, I was old enough to really appreciate by that point. I was like 11, 12 years old. A lot of kids now there's nothing for them. It's so long ago now that it was either before they were born or before they could really appreciate it. So I think
your point is so spot on. I mean, think about the most memorable games, and they have been memorable, have all been heartache. The triple doink with Kawhi, the Father's Day massacre when Simmons passes up the dunk, right? Like these games, all of them, oh God, they've been just one after another.
And look, I would say this, Anthony, at least the Kawhi Leonard shot game was a good game. Like it came down right to the end, and we think about it because they were so agonizingly close to winning that series and potentially winning a title with that group. It depends on how things shake out, obviously, but you never know.
Yeah.
The Atlanta series, it became clear not only were they not close to winning anything real, but the dream was over. That Ben Simmons, having been the number 1 overall pick, his tenure in Philadelphia was just done. That guy was cooked.
It was done.
So,
all right, do me a favor, because I'm so excited. I do this a lot. I run through our commercials, so bear with us, and then we're going to go through your top 10, okay? But I do want to tell you about Sleep Healthy PA. Dr. Andy Cohen, stop the snore. All right, so listen, first of all, it's horrible for you, right? Your health. If you have sleep apnea, it is the worst thing for you. Your body replenishes. It heals itself while you sleep. We need it. And you got to reach that REM state of sleep so your body can heal. This is where Dr. Andy comes in. He'll figure he's got a new technology that's not CPAP. He has a dental appliance, right? He uses custom fit dental appliances and laser therapy that will help widen your passageways to get air so you can finally sleep. Do it for your loved ones, right? Save your relationship. Do it for yourself and save your health, all right? SleepHealthyPA.com. That's Dr. Andy. All right, JP, tell us about Rite Aid.
All righty, guys. Well, listen, you actually just heard Kyle talking about that heat. We're obviously feeling a little bit heat here in the Philadelphia area as well. So, guys, I want to make sure you guys are staying nice and hydrated for the summer. And the place to get hydrated is with our friends over at Rite Aid, guys, all right? They have a wide selection of different beverages to keep you nice and hydrated and quench that thirst as well. They even have, guys, this upcoming weekend, listen, I know we're all going to be doing a little bit of drink. We're going to be hurt the next day. So that's when the hydration is really going to matter. Guys, they even have advanced electrolyte drinks here, all right? Keep those electrolytes up. They keep you nice and hydrated as well. They have all different types of waters as well. Purified spring, high in electrolytes, distilled and alkaline bottled waters as well. The coconut water. Guys, I'm telling you, it's a great treat. I love that coconut. I just recently found out I love coconut water too. They're stocked up on those. They have all the iced teas for a man VG. They have juices and lemonades, sweetened with real sugar and no preservatives. And they also have a wide range of different juices too. If you guys listen, if you're trying to look for a nice virgin drink, have a nice little cranberry juice or grapefruit juice, or if you're looking for a mixer for your cocktail, they have those there for you as well over at Rite Aid. They even have cold pressed juices for everyone who's trying to stay nice and fit and are looking for something a little yummy to drink as well. They have organic and they have crafted from 100% fruits and vegetables on their cold pressed juices. It's important to stay hydrated, guys, especially during the summer months. Get refreshments delivered to you right now. Shop online at riteaid.com/shop for same-day delivery or buy online. You can even pick them up at the store right now as well. So, guys, for this month, stay hydrated with their friends over at Rite Aid.
All right, JP, let's get back to Kyle and the top 10 most memorable Sixers games. So let's go through it, Kyle. So the legendary Julius Erving, Larry Bird fight, 1984, buddy.
Well, listen, anytime a Celtic is getting punched or having a punch thrown at them is a good day in Philadelphia. So that's the unfortunate part of this rivalry is that it's not really a rivalry when the Celtics just win every time or most of the time.
Yeah.
So this was I'd say this is probably a sweet feeling for Sixers fans at the time to get into an actual fight.
It was unbelievable, right? And you know what's great is that Moses had Larry Bird, and then Doc was free. And Doc was jabbing him right in his face. Boom, boom, boom. It was, and you saw that face, that Bird with the nose. Oh, that was the best. Doc was like Ali. You know?
But you sort of see what we're talking about here, right, Anthony? That one of the big Sixers games
is a fight
in history is a fist fight rather
that happened 30 years ago.
There's actually brawls in 2 of their top 10 games.
Yeah, they had the Bill Laimbeer fight that at the Pistons in Detroit. Like we're talking about fights.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pathetic.
You would think they're a hockey team with, we're focusing on the fights.
We
So
couldn't even
Flyers or
get a good
Sixers?
fight on the hockey team list. We had a good pregame fight. The hockey guys won't put it on it.
All right, we talked about this one. This was the Vince Carter in 2001 Game 7. He's got the look and he misses it.
Right. So this one I remember it was a role player game. Vince Carter was not good most of that game.
Right.
They did a good job stopping him. Iverson had 21 points on 27 shots. So one of the bad AI games. Aaron McKee has a huge game. Game of his career for Jermaine Jones.
Jermaine Jones, yes.
16 points, his playoff career high in a Game 7 when they absolutely needed it, and a big performance from Eric Snow, who came off of the bench that night. So that was a big role player game for those guys.
Think about it. Jermaine Jones scored 16. The Sixers only scored 88 in the game. That's nuts. The next one is the round before, and that's when they beat Indiana and the Pacers. AI goes for 33.
Yeah, so that was kind of for that team, that era, that represented getting over the hump for them, right? That Indiana had been like, not the measuring stick necessarily, but they were a team that had been there, had gone to the finals, and they're ahead of the Sixers at that point. And there were a lot of people concerned, despite the season the Sixers had, like, all right, Indiana can still handle them, right? Like, they got to beat this team to prove it. And so AI going out there and really, settling some doubts, I think, put some momentum behind that entire run.
Yeah, and that was like Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, like that was they were good, that Pacer team. Next one, how about Tyrese? Just happened, 46 at the Garden. It's his moment.
It's his moment, and I hope that we're able to look back one day, Anthony, and say, I know that he was an all-star before that, but that was kind of his star-making moment, and it was the sign of everything that was to come. I think the first time we were introduced to Tyrese Maxey was that big-time game against Denver when they had 7 guys available to play during the weird COVID season.
Yeah.
But doing this in the playoffs and announcing to a national audience, I'm here. That's always one of those that you look back on fondly. I was in the building for this one. That was a hell of a game.
How about Dana Barros scores 50 for the Sixers. That makes the list. That's how pathetic that we have. That Dana Barros, when they sucked, scores 50. There was a quote afterwards that he had a sparrow on his shoulder.
Well, so I'll ask you this, Anthony. Do you think this is the most random 50-point game ever? It's basically him, Corey Brewer, and I want to say Tony Delk once scored 50 points. They're the 3 guys that I think of off the top of my head. That's like, how the hell did those guys score 50 points in a game?
I know. No, it was just one of those nights, man. He just had that night. Then you got the debut, the much anticipated debut of Joel Embiid, the Beast.
So you could put this one up pretty dang high, I think, because after the years of just watching garbage basketball, and regardless of whether you're behind the process and the rebuild at all or 100%, whatever it was, Joel represented like, wow, this guy can actually play. And he goes out there against a Thunder team that was actually very good still and is dropping fadeaways and running the floor. And honestly, now the way he moves, it's crazy to go back and watch it and see like, boy, he was a lot lighter on his feet back then. And I wish that they could somehow heal his knees and get him back to that guy. But I don't think that day is coming, unfortunately.
I know. He was so light, man. He was. I remember practice, like when one of his first couple practices, they were like, oh my God, we've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, and like we all thought it was hyperbole at the time, I think, right? You're hearing this from the team, and it's just like, oh, nah, they want something to hold on to because the team's been so bad, and they really need this guy to hit, so they're going to talk up anything he does. And then his first ever NBA game, he just comes out and puts on an absolute show. So it turns out they were right.
AI, step over. Game 1, finals 0-1, stunned Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah, so it's a performance. I wrote this week. It's a performance so iconic that most people forget that they lost the next 4 games, right? Like that's the enduring memory of that entire series. 30 first half points. They're coming off a long, pretty hard fought series against Milwaukee. The Lakers have mostly coasted into the finals, and AI just comes out and hits them with a haymaker. Now, in hindsight, we could see Ty Lue, they figured something out in that game that they need to use him more, because the more that they used him, the harder it got for AI. And we saw a lot of Ty Lue the rest of the way. Couple of small role player standouts too. Eric Snow hit a great one-footed runner late in that game in overtime. That's one of the most important shots of that game, and played great defense on Kobe Bryant. That's actually, I rewatched this series, Anthony, a few years back, and I came away with more appreciation for the defensive guys on that team. Like, I think people paint them as like, oh, what a bunch of it was Iverson carrying these guys. Those guys were defending their butts off, like full court pressing, defending Kobe and Shaq. Like, that was a Herculean task they had in front of them.
Yeah, and listen, that was Larry Brown, who believed in defense. That era of basketball was an era of defense before scoring exploded again. Embiid, speaking of scoring, 70 against the Spurs. You saw it.
I did. And the crazy thing is, you could argue that a regular season game with less points was a better one. There was a game against Utah where I think he scored 59 and also had like 7 blocks and 8 assists and all kinds of. He just has so many of these comical box score games. And my hope for him is that he gets one healthy playoff run, Anthony. And we can see this guy that we've seen in the regular season, where I know Victor Wembanyama was a rookie during this game against the Spurs where he dropped 70, but he was one of the best defensive players in the league last season. There were people saying he should be Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. And Joel just went out there and absolutely sauteed this guy. So when he has it going, he can just destroy people. But we need to see it when it matters. I know all of us feel the same way.
Yeah, well put. The last two, you got to go a long way back. 1982, Game 7, Sixers Celtics at the Garden, Andrew Toney. Now, this predates
Strangler.
Yeah.
The Boston Strangler.
Did you go back and watch it? I'm curious.
I have seen this game before, and I'll talk some more about the number 1 game, because I watched that recently as we were going through these. But it really gives you an appreciation of how much this team relied on Andrew Toney, because, Dr. J was a big-time star. Mo Cheeks, great point guard. The year later, they get Moses, and obviously he's a hub of the offense, a hub of the team on both ends of the floor. But Andrew Toney was a guy that they gave him the ball, and he had just this level of fearlessness that nobody on the team had. And then that was the beat LA game, right? Like, that's what inspired. And I won't repeat the quote on the show. I would do some digging if you don't remember this, Anthony. There is an off-color quote that Darryl Dawkins gave to the great Bob Ryan after this game. What he said about hearing the beat LA chant. So if you do some research on it, it's one of the funniest quotes that a player has given. But I don't want to. It's a little early.
Dawkins. I mean, I was a little kid, so we get a chance to cover, but I can only imagine having covered him. Like, he was so entertaining. He'd have poems. Like, he was incredible. That game was, nobody gave him a chance to win going into that game. Like, I remember being a kid reading Bill Lyon wrote a story saying that there's no chance the Sixers will win. And I was like, oh no, like really? You know, because you're going, oh my God, like you're gonna blow a 3-1 lead again. It was amazing. And then of course,
well, that was Anthony. That's the only road game 7 they've won in their history as a franchise. Those are hard to win in general. They've been very hard to win for the Sixers, and they're damn near impossible to win in Boston at the Garden. So that speaks to how special Andrew Toney's performance was in that game.
Yeah, it was amazing. Also speaks to our history. Of course, game one, the number one was the title game, the last title, the only title in modern day history.
So this one I did go back and watch very recently. And speaking of Celtics, Bill Russell was actually the color commentator.
I hated Bill Russell calling the game.
So he was talking about, talk about a guy who knows defense, was talking them up for the game as just like what a defensive unit this team has, and they play together, but they're great individually. And that final game showed, and the final quarter really, they were down 11 points going into the fourth. They went on a 33-15 quarter to close out that game. And you saw absolutely everything that made that team great. You had Moses Malone with a few critical offensive rebounds, where he's basically just passing it to himself to score another basket. Bobby Jones comes in for some important minutes, gives you a defensive spark. Andrew Toney, as we're talking about here, he basically carried the offense in the middle part of that fourth quarter. Mo Cheeks with a couple big plays. But I thought what stood out to me, because Dr. J at that point had the reputation of he's a great player, can't get over the hump. And I think people remember it now as like, well, Moses came and Moses carried the team. In the final 3 minutes of that game, when it was time to kill off the series, Julius Erving scored like 3 straight clutch baskets, including one that came on a fast break, including the jumper that basically sealed the game, I think pushed the lead to 3. And I can only imagine for him, having gone through the series against Portland, the losses to the Lakers, the losses to the Celtics, how good that felt to be the guy to just like to see them through to the end.
And everybody was happy for him. Like the Lakers were happy for him. Everybody was like, because Doc was so respected across the league that it was a big deal that he won.
Yeah, and I think like he has somehow become pretty underrated in history. I think the reputation nationally is like, oh, Moses came and he just carried these guys to it. And it's really more like Moses was great, right? He was the MVP, he's the finals MVP, all that. Deserves every accolade he's gotten. It's more so that part of it was that he had Julius Erving with him, right? That he was Moses didn't win when he was, or at least not as much as he did in Philadelphia when he came here, when he was in Houston. So those two guys were both so great. And to your point, Dr. J was beloved, not just because he was a great player, but he's a great guy. And that's still the case to this day. There's a reason that Dr. J went with Sixers ownership to see Paul George, to talk about the history and like what it means to be a Sixer. And so I'm so glad that he's still, a representative and ambassador for this team, because he's just one of those guys that is an absolute icon of NBA history.
I got to tell you, excellent stuff that you guys did. You, Devon, Derek, fantastic. I loved your reasoning, and you're a man of history. I appreciate that.
It's not an easy list to put together.
Oh, my God.
No.
I mean, going back, was there any consideration that Eric Snow falling asleep as a broadcaster seems like a memorable game?
No, I mean, I don't want to cast any aspersions at Eric Snow, obviously. But yeah, I mean, look, the overarching point is that the good days are so far behind them and us that we are dying as a city for a real moment. All the recent ones are Ben Simmons not wanting to shoot or Joel Embiid not being good enough in a game. Like the Tyrese Maxey game is the one real positive of the recent playoff game. So we're all dying to get that just one run. Like even the Iverson team, they really just had one good run. The rest of the time it was basically what we're running into with Joel Embiid, which is a lot of first and second round failures or first and second round exits. So,
well, the greatest failure with AI was the year after they go to the finals. Their front court was Matt Harpering, Derek Coleman, and Dikembe Mutombo, which could have been the slowest front court in the history of the NBA.
And Derek Coleman, talk about a guy with all the talent in the world.
Yeah.
He just, once he got his first big payday, that was basically it for him. That was a real shame.
Yeah. Hey, dude, great stuff, brother. Thank you as always. Feel better, all right? Rest up.
I'll drink some orange juice. I'll get some Dayquil in me, and we'll be good to go.
Head to Rite Aid, Kyle. Head to Rite Aid.
Rite Aid.
There you go. I'll head down to Rite Aid.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy. The great Kyle Neubeck, our all PHLY Sixers. All right, let me tell you, coming up, Jim Salisbury. Woo. Jimmy is incredible. When it comes to history, I bet we'll do the Phillies with Jimmy.
With that.
Yeah. It's going to be good. But let me tell you about Parks Casino, Street Road, Ben Salem. Head over there. Here's the thing. It's the number one casino of all Pennsylvania. They have incredible restaurants, right? All the games and tables, the slots, all that stuff. They have big time A-list entertainment. All right. So it's state-of-the-art entertainment venue inside Parks Casino in Bucks County. Right here, it's an incredible place to see a show. So right now, tickets are on sale for these headliners. You ready? Debbie Gibson, the Marshall Tucker Band. That's August 25th. September 7th, Australian Pink Floyd. How about September 14th, the greatest J.B. Smoove. We were just talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm. And J.B. Smoove, who plays Leon on Curb, is just outrageous. September 20th, the Tribute Act, Best of the Eagles. September 21st, country star Dustin Lynch. September 27th, comedian Tiffany Haddish. September 28th, The Fray. October 4th, Juicy Scoop Podcast with Heather McDonald. October 5th, Kev Herrera, a great comedian. October 18th, the acapella sounds of Straight No Chaser. It's all happening. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all the shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You got to be 21, gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, cuz. Well, earlier we talked about staying hydrated during the summer months. Now, guys, I want to make sure you guys are protecting your eyeballs during the summer month because, guys, this heat is insane. This sun is absolutely bonkers. So I want to make sure we're protecting our eyeballs with our friends over at Shady Rays. And you guys know me, I'm a big sunglass nut, and we're talking about world-class quality when we're talking about Shady Rays sunglasses. Because, look, with the difference between Shady Rays and some of the other sunglass companies is that you're going to get a great product, but you're not going to break the bank. In today's day and age, we're trying to save a buck or two, all right? And with Shady Rays, you'll be able to save a buck or two with a great product as well. But don't take it from me. Take it from over 300,000 people that have rated Shady Rays 5 stars or more. They agree that this is a great product too. And one of my favorite features about Shady Rays, guys, look, we've all been there where we happen to lose or break those sunglasses. Where Shady Rays comes in clutch is that they will replace that first pair of sunglasses for you here. So if you happen to break or lose it, don't sweat it. They'll replace them there for you. It is absolutely amazing what they do. And as always, guys, we have you hooked up with that promo code. Right now, guys, stay style and profile with Shady Rays. Head on over to ShadyRays.com. Use our promo code PHLY. That'll get you 35% off those polarized sunglasses. Again, that's PHLY, 35% off. Stay style and profile this summer with our friends over at Shady Rays.
All right, brother. Thank you. This portion of the program brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out the credit union difference at TrueMark.com/PHLY today. Now, joining us to talk about the greatest, most memorable games when it comes to baseball and the fighting Phillies, my man, the great Jim Salisbury. Jimmy!
How you doing, Ant?
Doing great, buddy. Hey, before
My dog.
we start, I got to ask you. So Jim Bowden throws out Cedric Mullins as a possibility for the Phils. What are your thoughts on that?
He hasn't had the kind of year that he's had in the past. I think they're really looking for a right-handed bat. He's a left-handed bat. He's a center fielder. I'm sure he could play in left. I still think they're looking right-handed kind of platoon bat to pair with Marsh. And I kind of get the vibe they might be okay. If they can do that, they might be okay with Rojas because they're getting JT back, and he's also a right-handed bat. But, I mean, it's a name. He's had good seasons. There was a time when I really loved him as a guy you should go get, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But I'm not sure of the fit, to be honest with you, because I'm just not sure they're. I think they're more looking for a right-handed bat.
Yeah, that's what I was a little confused when I saw that. I know there's not a lot out there that they're talking about Tommy Pham, and I'm just like I'm kind of out on Tommy Pham, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's a right-handed bat. Plays with a lot of edge. He was out there last year, and he ended up moving to Arizona. He's a name that I've never been able to pin down with the Phillies in terms of having real legitimate interest. I hear him connected to the Phillies all the time, but when I speak to people in the know, I just don't get much back. That said, there really is a need for a right-handed bat on this team because Marsh has been so good against right-handed pitching, struggles against left-handed pitching. If you could get a platoon, that combination is a pretty good player. We still got a couple weeks to go. This kind of sprint to the trade deadline is really just getting out of the starting blocks here. I still would keep an eye on guys like Taylor Ward, Anaheim, right-handed bat. Lane Thomas, Washington, right-handed bat. Both do a good job against lefties. I'm not sure which way Boston's going to go. They're right in it, but they've played over their head, and they've done a really great job getting into that race. That clubhouse has, that lineup has. I think their front office owes it to them to stay in it and try to make some moves to, make a move in that division race and that wild card race. But that front office has put off so many different vibes over the last year. You don't know where they are. So I don't know if they're buyers or sellers. I guess this next couple of weeks will determine. They probably should be buyers where they are in the standings. But if they're not, Tyler O'Neill would be an interesting guy for me.
Yes.
And there are others. But as far as Mullins, everything I've been able to glean is they're looking more right-handed bat at the moment.
Ward seems kind of odd, seems likely. And he's got some pop. O'Neill, I love O'Neill. O'Neill's got great pop. Oh, man.
Yeah, I love O'Neill, too. He strikes out, but they all strike out these days.
Exactly.
And he's just a rental, which is nice in terms of maybe what you'd have to give up. But I just don't know which way Boston's going to go. If you ask me, I think they owe it to their team to stay in it. But it's hard to figure out which way they're going to go. But I really believe Dombrowski's going to do something. It's his nature. It's his history. And, I think this is a good team that can win the World Series as is. Stay healthy, get the production you're supposed to get from your track record guys, your superstars. I think you can win it. Especially, you got to get hot in October. But I think you really enhance your chances with a tweak in terms of right-handed hitting outfielder, and with another bullpen arm, because you lean very heavily on the bullpen in October, and bullpens can be real difference makers. Over the entire length of the season, but really in October as well. So I expect to see Dombrowski go out and get an outfielder, a little more offense out there, and an arm in the bullpen. So we'll see.
All right, so we had a lot of fun here at the network. We put together the top most memorable games for each team. So I'm going to read you what the Phillies guys came up with and give me your insight into them, because you are great at this, all right? So the 08 Division Series game against the Brewers, Sabathia on the mound.
So that's the game, very memorable game. Citizens Bank Park, they had over 46,000 people in the stands that night. That was the biggest crowd ever to that date. They've taken a few seats out over the last couple of years, so they top out at just under 44. So it was a huge crowd. Sabathia had been like 11-2 since the Brewers picked him up that year, and they just laid a whooping on him. I mean, they beat him up. And Brett Myers had that long at bat that was, he really competed, but it was also kind of comical to see him foul off pitches and work that count, draw that walk. And then Rollins drew a walk, if I remember, loaded the bases for Victorino, who was hitting 2 that night. So Victorino would often hit in the middle of the order, but against a hard-throwing lefty, Charlie liked him in the 2 spot from the right-handed batter's box. And lo and behold, he hits a grand slam, and that place just goes nuts. Yeah. A grand slam of CC Sabathia. And I remember talking to Victorino before that game, Anthony, and he was telling me how his dad was flying in from Maui, and he had flown all day and arrived like an hour before the game. And so once Shane Victorino hit that grand slam, I made it my mission to get the father.
Get the father.
I had to find out. I had to find out where he was sitting, and it took me a little while, but I found out where he was sitting, and I showed up at his seat, and he had tears in his eyes. He was so happy to talk about his son. He was so happy to talk about how Philadelphia had embraced his boy after he'd kind of gone through LA and San Diego and not gotten a real shot and not made it. And he thought Philadelphia was sort of his destiny, a type of town where he could really thrive. And he had tears in his eyes. And as Shane crossed home plate that night, he pointed at his dad behind the backstop. And his name is Mike Victorino. He said he saw him point, and we're dads. Can you imagine that feeling?
Oh my God! I remember when Massimo hit his first home run, like legit home run, and I was so excited for him. In fact, one of the kids got the ball, and I'm like, dude, you did it. I can only imagine now. In that moment, you fly. Now it's the big leagues, the playoffs, and it's a grand slam. That's beautiful. Just beautiful.
And 46,000 people showering your son with love. Amazing.
Amazing. How about World Series Game 1, Phillies-Yankees, 2009?
You got to give me a little – is that the Cliff Lee game?
Cliff Lee, baby.
Yeah. He had a great World Series. Yeah, the pop-up. That was at Yankee Stadium, right?
Yes.
So that was the game. He decided he wasn't going to take the team bus because the team buses went out early. And he said, I'm going to take the subway. And the traveling secretary is like, you sure? This is New York City. There's a lot of traffic. No, I'm going to hang and take the subway. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He didn't take the team bus. He was going to take a car service from Manhattan. And they get caught in gridlock.
Well, yes.
He gets caught in gridlock. It's coming back to me now. And he gets out of he calls Frank Koppenbarger, the travel, and says, what do I do? And Frank says, find a subway, get on the subway, and just follow the Yankee shirts to the stadium. So he finally gets to the stadium on the subway like 90 minutes before first pitch, which is incredibly cutting it close. They usually get a few hours before. And now, because it was his first time to New Yankee Stadium, he'd only been to the old place with the Indians. He didn't know how to get in. So he's roaming around outside Yankee Stadium, that night's starter, and he again calls the clubhouse, and there's a McDonald's there up the street a little bit.
Yeah.
And Frank says to him, go wait at the McDonald's. I'm going to send somebody up to get you. And they sent somebody up to get him. And he finally gets down to the clubhouse like less than 90 minutes before first pitch, which is really cutting it close, like we said. And he goes out there and delivers like he did. And that's him, man. That's
a great story.
His whole thing was like shrug, whatever. He wasn't a guy that poured over data and video. He was, give me the ball. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to rely on what I do best, and nothing's going to bother me. And that was kind of case in point.
How about 07? Phillies beat the Mets last game of the year to win the NL East. Brett.
That was a huge memory of mine because, I'd covered that team for a good bit at that point. They hadn't been to the postseason for 14 years. My memory is a little shaky, but, they'd come back from 7 down with 17 to play, or 7.5 down with 17 to play. They'd caught the Mets. They were tied on the last day, right?
Yep.
And Glavine, the Mets are playing like an hour ahead of the Phillies, I think. It's like maybe a 1 o'clock and a start up there, or a 2 o'clock start here, something like that. And Glavine just gives it up early. The Mets are down 6-0 early.
To the Marlins, right? Was it in Florida?
Yeah. And, the door is wide open for the Phillies. And the place is electric. Everybody's waving those towels. And Jimmy Rollins leads off the game with I think it was his 20th triple of the season.
Yeah, to get to 20.
So bad because that gave him, 30 home runs, 40 doubles, and 20 triples, I think. I'd have to look it up.
And the stolen bases, too. Didn't he have like 20 stolen bases, too?
Yeah, he had, but it was like his 20th triple. And there was no holding them back that day. And, I remember the roar of the crowd when it was over. Just that climb, that long climb. It was basically a 14-year climb, and then it was 17 days of just like pedal to the metal. And it was so cathartic to see them win in that clubhouse. They didn't have much left to go to. They didn't have much in their whip to go to against Colorado in the first round. But that journey, that spurt to running down that division title and overtaking the Mets, I think was very helpful learning experience in their development.
How about Roy Halladay's perfect game? Were you down there for that?
I sure was. I covered that game. That was May 29th of 2010, right?
Yes.
The perfect game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday. The Flyers were in the Stanley Cup final.
I was in Chicago.
And I'm a big Flyers fan. And you remember that old press box at the Dolphins Stadium where So I'm in and out. I'm going in the back to that dining room where they had the Flyers game on the TV, and I'm watching. And all of a sudden, this game is flying by. It's like the 5th inning after like 20 minutes, And I'm like, he's got a perfect game going. I got to get my game face here because, you see something special, you kind of got to deliver, right? So, yeah, it was something. Mike DeMuro was the home plate ump, and he had a very generous strike zone that night. Go back and look at it sometime. But Doc exploited it beautifully, perfectly, whatever you want to call. My gosh, that last play by Castro at third base, he made a couple of great plays that night. And, the backstory there is Doc, he either didn't pitch well or he might have lost a game, maybe to Boston. The previous start or or two, Greg Dobbs was at third base and didn't handle a couple plays that should have been made. And Doc was not happy. And he had told Charlie, we need to get, a glove over there. So he put Juan Castro over there, a real, good defender. And Castro made a couple great plays, including that spin around for the last out over to Howard to lock up that perfect game. And, I still remember the post-game clubhouse, Anthony. It's just absolute bedlam. It's, you rush downstairs, it's bedlam. You get that 10-minute cooling off period.
Yeah.
So Kevin Gregg, who's one of their media relations guys, he's still with the team. It's just bedlam. He's got Joe Biden was the vice president. Joe Biden's office is trying to get a hold of Doc, like within 5 minutes after the game. They want to say congratulate. Joe Biden wants to congratulate him. And he's got that. And Kevin just finally says, about the cooling off period. There's only like 3 writers there. He goes, guys, just go in. So he's like, just go in. And they were having a champagne toast to Doc. And, I stood in the corner and watched it. It was really quite moving. It was his 10th start or 10th or 11th start as a Philly. And to watch the way they embraced him so quickly, because he really wanted to be a Philly. I mean, he wanted to be a Philly. He was very disappointed when it didn't happen the year earlier. And they gave him a really nice salute. And I remember he came into they threw together a really quick press conference in like one of the football locker rooms. And the owner of the Marlins came in and said, we're going to dig up the pitching rubber and give it to you. And just a kind of a magic night, watching something special, covering a perfect game and having it happen so quickly in his Phillies tenure.
Yeah, that was incredible. Hey, Jimmy, give me 1 minute. JP, we're talking about all these incredible games. Tell us about Game Time.
Absolutely, guys. Well, guys, if you got the itch right now to go to the ballpark after listening to that, well, you're in luck. Because with our friends over at the Game Time app, they're making ticket buying so much easy, not only for sporting events, but for concerts as well. And of course, we talked about it, guys. This weekend's a big one. All right, you're gonna be in Pittsburgh. All right, it's a great time to be in Pittsburgh to watch the Phillies. And obviously, we won't see Skeens, but guys, go down there, see the beautiful ballpark, root on the Phillies, use the Game Time app. But if not, guys, we have some great concerts in the area as well. The Dave Matthews Band's going to be in town. Olivia Rodrigo's going to be in town tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. So what you got to do, check out some of these events and save some money, because some people are saving up to 60% on ticket buying by using the Game Time app. First, download the free app. If it's free, it's for all of us. Now head on down to the ballpark or to the concert venue, hang out, have a few, right? And then right before the event starts, about an hour or so, go on the app, check out the prices. You'll see how low the prices are. You'll even be able to see the seat before you buy, and as well, all the fees you're going to be paying up front before you purchase them as well. That's the beauty of the Game Time app here, guys. And as always, guys, before you go down there, we got you hooked up with that promo code. So first off, like I said, download the app, all right? And then on your first purchase for this event, you will get $20 off if you use the promo code PHLY. That's big, guys. That could be beer. That could be food. $20 off your first purchase. Use that promo code PHLY. So, guys, head on down to an event this weekend. A lot of good stuff. Should be some great weather as well. And make sure you guys keep in mind using the Game Time app.
All right, thanks, JP. I got a couple more. Jim Salisbury with us. You're incredible because I give you these games and you paint this amazing, vivid picture of you covering it. I got to go with the World Series and the resumption of Game 5.
Yeah, well, 2 days off. I mean, talk about building this sense of anticipation. You come back. When you leave the ballpark at the suspension, the place is absolutely waterlogged. I can still see that image of B.J. Upton sliding through the puddles and splashing everywhere.
It didn't, real quick, didn't MLB, they just didn't want to end it like a 1-0 game into the rain. Like, so they kept them to play on to almost score the run.
They just were caught between a rock and a hard place. It's such a, obviously, a World Series game, so much at stake, and they didn't know if it was going to stop, and they were trying to, but they also knew that they were going to go 9. It wasn't just going to be 5 and be official. So, but Hamels gives up that run. He can't even grip the ball. I remember talking to him about that. That was tough because he pitched his heart out that entire month of October. But the resumption. What struck me about that is we always talk about the baseball season being a marathon, and driving to the ballpark that afternoon, you knew you were going to see a sprint, like a 400-meter sprint to maybe a world championship. And they did not want to get on that airplane and go back to St. Petersburg. And they came up. Pat Burrell has a big hit. Jeff Jenkins has a big hit. Chase Utley makes that iconic play, and boom, next thing you know, they're world champions. It was almost surreal how quick it happened that night. Very memorable and very obviously unique. It's never been one like that. And I'm always reminded of that great column Phil Sheridan wrote in the Inquirer, just a great column. And he basically made the point that, you had to wait forever and a day for this championship, with the delay.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, forever and a day, except he did it a lot more beautiful than that. I have it clipped somewhere, and it's really was a beautiful piece. So, yeah, it was such a great moment. The new ballpark, that long rebuild, the long drought, and I think having Charlie stand up that night and say, "Hey, this is for Philadelphia. This is for our fans." Guess what? He meant that right from the bottom of his heart.
Yes.
There's no pretense to that guy. He doesn't say anything he doesn't mean. This was for Philadelphia. This was for their fans. And to see him, especially after when he got hired, he was kicked around like an old football for the first year or so. And then Pat Gillick came in, and Pat Gillick wasn't even sure he was going to retain him after 2006. He thought about moving on from him.
Wow.
And what he did is he made changes in the coaching staff around him. And to just see Charlie have that moment of triumph, and ultimately Pat Gillick's, who had unbelievable career, one of the great baseball gentlemen of all time, and extremely accomplished. Pat has told me he considers after 2006 staying with Charlie one of the best decisions he ever made.
That's awesome. That's such a great story. I didn't know he was that close to moving. I remember the heat that was on him, but and to this day, the skip Charlie will talk about Pat, and he loved Gillick. Like they were two great baseball men, and they had like really good conversations, and they would argue about players. Charlie is underrated as a talent evaluator. He knows ball players.
Sure does. I mean, he has spent his entire, time he was 18 years old in professional baseball. And he does have a great eye for baseball players. He has a great eye for people. He cuts right through the BS. You can tell if you're a good guy or a phony right out of the gate.
Hey, last thing. So the guys on the Phillies, they omitted, and I went nuts. VG and I went crazy. They omitted the 1980 Game 5 NLCS against the Astros. I need you for 2 minutes just to explain to younger people how amazing that game was.
Well, you should get Larry Boa on to talk about that one. He's the guy that ignited the big rally against a guy named Nolan Ryan when they scored 5. I think it was the 7th or 8th inning. They had 3 consecutive hits. And, Larry's just working pitches and just boom, line drive up the middle. And they score, they start a 5-run rally against Nolan Ryan, and they come back and win that game in 10 innings. Manny Trio had that big hit. That game, I mentioned 2007 clinching the division on the final day as being cathartic. I think 80 from everybody, I wasn't there, but everybody I've talked to says the same thing about 80. It was cathartic. It was emotional because they had this great team and the clock was ticking on it. Paul Owens was the GM, and if they didn't win the World Series that year, he was going to break it up because, they lost in the NLCS in 76.
77.
77 and 78.
Yeah,
and they didn't get
76 against the Reds, 77, 78 against the Dodgers.
So they can't get over this NLCS hump. And they finally get over it on the road, in extra innings, rallying against Nolan Ryan. You could see the relief and the joy on all their faces. I can still see Dallas running out and hugging guys. And, because they started off that, a year earlier, they couldn't stand Dallas because he was in there to take some sandpaper to all those kind of shiny egos and get something out of this team. And Dallas was completely emboldened. He could do whatever he wanted. And this was a time when you could insult players. You can't do that anymore. Now you got to kind of support them. In those days, you could rough them up to motivate them, and they were cut from the cloth where they could take it and they could be better for it. But Dallas had the complete support of his GM and Rully Carpenter, the owner, because they knew this was it. And they told Dallas, do whatever you want. Don't worry about making friends. Don't worry about ego. You ain't get fired. Nobody's going upstairs on you. You're the man. So he had carte blanche to take it to these guys. They hated him at the beginning. They loved him at the end. What an amazing triumph all that team had been through. And then to rally against Nolan Ryan and to win it on the road, and then fly home. I want to say Dallas, he didn't let any of the wives come on that trip. Yeah, ask Ruben about this.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that actually made some of the guys angry. But Dallas was like, no, this is a business trip. We're going to take care of business. And they did take care of business.
None of the ladies. Leave them home.
Don't you miss Dallas? Oh, man.
Yeah, man. He was wild. He was awesome. That big John Wayne. We both had him, right? The Mets and the Yankees. And he was a great man. Great baseball guy. I remember being upset when Charlie and Dallas got into that beef.
Anthony, I witnessed it.
You did?
I wrote the story.
Oh, that's fabulous.
I wrote the story because Dallas had gone on the radio and scuffed Charlie a little bit.
Yes.
And I knew Charlie was ticked
Red
off.
ass. Yes.
And he was stewing for like a month.
Yes.
He was stewing for like a month. And I also heard that they told Dallas, hey, can you just stay away from the field a little bit till this calms down? And so Dallas was conspicuously absent from pregame, BP and whatnot. He wasn't around for like a month as they tried to let this thing die down. So I'm standing on the field one night during BP, and Dallas comes down and he's showing some friends around or something. And he wants to introduce these friends to Charlie. This is how it happened. I witnessed it. And he wants to introduce these folks to Charlie, and Charlie wants no part of it. And he says, basically, Dallas, I heard that stuff you said, and, if it ever happens again, I'm going to knock you out, something like that. And so they kind of get into it a little bit on the field, and I'm like, and Dallas, to his credit, he was so accountable,
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well, you saw it. I guess you got to write it. And they both talked about it. You can find this story. They both talked about it, about, this disagreement they had. And I wrote the story. And then I revisited it like a year later. And because they talked it out and buried the hatchet and basically got to know what each side was about, they became great friends.
Yeah.
And frequent dinner partners in Clearwater. It just tells you that sometimes when people have a disagreement, if you clear the air the right way, I mean, you can be angry, but then clear the air the right way, respect can grow.
Yes.
And it really did between those two men. But I'll try to find you that story and send it over to you. I was an eyewitness.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I felt like if I didn't write it because we knew Charlie was pissed. And both of them were so willing to talk about it. I think Dallas was really eager to put his hand up and say, I messed up. I wasn't a real good team guy here. And I think Charlie was eager to kind of say, I'm tired of being pushed around. Nobody's going to push me around. And these are old school baseball men. I'm not sure guys do that anymore. But two unbelievable men that have, in terms of my career, they're way up here in terms of the people I've met and been able to interact with. And, I really love both guys.
Yeah, same here, brother. Same here. It would have been interesting that those two fight. That would have been a heavyweight fight too, man. And especially when it was back in their prime. Both big, strapping guys. Charlie's tough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Charlie's tough, and he's tough more than just throwing down. I mean, this guy beat heart attack and cancer and everything else. He's his upbringing, he's a tough son of a gun.
Yeah. Jimmy, great stuff, man. You're the best. I love doing this. So much fun, brother.
Hey, it was my pleasure going down memory lane.
Thanks, buddy. You're the best. Have a great weekend. Best to the family.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
There he is, the great Jim Salisbury. You can always read him right here, all PHLY. So much fun kind of doing this, going through all of the games. And now, as this portion of the program brought to you by Rite Aid, get all your favorite goods at riteaid.com. Joining us to talk birds from our All Eagles.
Speaking of tough guys.
Bo Wulf.
That's a tough name. Bo Wulf.
Bo
It's like an
Wulf.
outlaw.
That's right. You are like an outlaw.
Bo Outlaw. There you go.
So this was so much fun, kind of going through this exercise. And thanks to Vince Pellegrini, who really put this whole thing together. And he did a great job. He got all of us to kind of weigh in on the top 20 or the top really 40 most memorable games since 1980. And we saved the birds because there's a ton of Eagles on this list.
I'm ready for some debate. There are some ones that are not on this list that I'm surprised are not on the list. There's some ordering that I'm not so sure.
It's your list, ain't it?
I don't think so.
No?
It's not mine.
It's your beat.
Well, you
I was on vacation.
You and Zach.
And I come back and this is what I come back to.
His partner?
Yeah, come on.
So Zach really came up with this list.
Yeah. And
All
Zach
right?
and I will hash it out today because he and I do not agree on some of these.
Okay, good. So I'm going to read you the list.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, and now let's go into it. Okay. So you have. This was a great one. This was 4th and 1. Emmitt Smith. The play was load left, and the Eagles stop him. First, they blow the whistle. There's a 2-minute warning. They come back. They were shocked. They were going for it. They come back. They run the same exact play, and the Eagles overload the right side and tackle Emmitt Smith for a loss, take over the ball, and win the game.
Well, you tell me what you remember about that because it's a little bit before my time. But what I like about that in looking into it is, it was a surprise that they were going for it because this was not like the Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson Eagles who always go for it on 4th down. This is before the time when that was in vogue.
I just remember the announcer. Who was it? Like Madden? Whoever the announcer was.
Madden Summerall.
They're running it again.
Yeah,
that's right.
Kept saying
That's
they're
right.
doing
Hey, Madden
it
goes
again.
something about, it's the 2-minute warning. Wait, the play didn't count.
That's right, yeah.
The play didn't count. Oh, man. And Matt, it looks like the same play. Pat, it looks like the same play. They're going to run the same play.
It's like in Mallrats, like that kid's back on the escalator. Like he's back on the escalator. They're running it again.
They called that.
Love that.
They called that play's name was Load Left, which was so amazing. All right. Another one he's got is the Snow Bowl game.
Now the Snow Bowl didn't make our the full top 25, right? Which I think some people might disagree with, and I think we've got the Fog Bowl, which we will get to, but 20 years later, 25 years later, you have the Snow Bowl, and I think everybody in my time covering the team over the past 15 years or so, that's one of the most memorable experiences watching a game that I can remember. I mean, it was snow was in the forecast, but it was not supposed to snow that much, and it started a little bit pregame, and then it just kept going.
Dumped.
It dumped.
It dumped.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I wouldn't, if I had to come up with 10, I wouldn't have thought of that. I didn't even remember it until I saw it. I was like, oh, I do remember that now.
Well, it was a great game. I mean, Shady goes nuts. They changed
There's
the
that
cleats.
great picture. Yep. And they go in at halftime, and Shady's like, I need different cleats. And I think it was one of the corners who said to the coach, we can't cover them. You got to throw the ball on offense because when the snow is like that, the stopping and starting on defense is so much harder than it is on offense when you're being the aggressor.
Now, the only thing is about the game, the problem is there's so many memorable Eagles games that it can't crack. I didn't have it in mind because it's too many games.
It's do you go for the significance of what the game means in the larger course of the season, or is it the snapshot in your mind of watching this game and aesthetically there's nothing better than a football game in the snow, right?
Yeah,
It makes
definitely.
you think you're a little kid again.
Yeah.
So we talked about this one, the body bag game.
I love the body bag game. I mean, anytime the name is the body bag game, I mean, what's a better name than that?
Oh my God! Think about it, Bo. That seemed. Vijay, you said it. You go, is there a number? The reason why people love Buddy Ryan are these games are crazy. The House of Pain game. Are you nuts?
There was a pregame comment. Buddy Ryan had the reporters who said, we're going to hurt them so bad they'll have to be carted off in body bags. He said that pregame.
And they knocked out like 6 guys in the game, right?
Yes.
including both their quarterbacks, and Brian Mitchell had to come in as the emergency
They
quarterback.
say 9 Redskin players left with injuries.
Buddy Ryan said that
It's like a movie.
Pre-game, they're going to need body bags.
Hell, like now you imagine how that plays in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Right? House, and Buddy said the other one. Like,
Yeah.
you brought
Bring
the house, we
bring
brought the pain. Come on, that doesn't get you nuts.
That's great.
You know, it's why we love defense, man. Like but that generate like we're kids growing up, and we're seeing that. We're like our eyeballs are
You're frothing at the
wide.
mouth.
And
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
coming off
it-
Marion Campbell years, which were pathetic.
Yeah, bend up, don't break defense.
Well, I think you said it. Like it is the like the origin story of why defense matters so much in the city, right?
Yeah.
To some degree.
It, like gave us our pride back
Right,
for
right.
at that period in time.
Yeah, when Violations Greg said that, I was just like, dude, you're like he and I were like 2 kids. Took us way back to when we were children. Nick Foles, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed by that.
It's a nice little footnote in history, but
Yeah.
I don't think anybody remembers that game super vividly, and it's not like it led to the most incredible game. I feel like that one's a little bit overrated.
Might not even be in Nick's top 3 games.
No,
Yeah.
it really. I mean, listen. I mean, the 7 touchdowns. Like, wow, okay, but the
Right.
Raiders were
were terrible.
horrific.
Yeah.
They were horrible.
The guys were running wide open in that game.
Exactly.
It's a nice footnote, but I agree with you that ahead of the body bag game. I mean, what are we doing?
Yes,
What's the matter, JP? You're looking. You love that game.
he does.
Come on, defend it.
I just think Cuz has a thing against some of our younger fans and our games that we like. That's all.
I don't know. I'm just giving you context.
I mean,
Like, there's no context there.
Nick Foles is in the Hall of Fame for that game. He's got his whole uniforms in the Hall of Fame from that game.
doesn't mean anything. The Raiders were horrible. Because you were 8 years old and you're looking at the game, you go, "Oh my God, the Raiders suck."
7 touchdowns, guys.
You're out. You're out. The Michael Vick. This was unbelievable, man. The Michael Vick Monday Night Football, Chip Kelly's first game.
So it's 2 different games.
I know.
And I think there's some confusion.
I
here.
edited.
Yeah, that's okay. But I think that the Chip Kelly first game is more memorable to me, and this is a disagreement
Way more.
than Zach and I have. He thinks the Vic 6 touchdown game is more memorable. That play, that first play of the game, I will never forget. It was a beautiful play. It's that play action. Vic he steps back. He takes like that one, very Michael Vick like.
Yeah, that's
that
good
one
imitation.
pop, and then the beautiful throw.
Look at that. That was good.
The beautiful throw,
little
inch
shimmy.
perfect to Deshaun Jackson touchdown, and the route is on from there. The only other play that's like super memorable from that game is Albert Hainsworth just lying down on the ground for like 12 seconds, and Harriman's is just standing over him like, what am I going to do?
Well, it's funny because I completely changed that because you and I agree.
Yeah,
The first
Chip Kelly game, because it's like this unveiling
It's
of this
Monday
thing.
night
Oh
against
my God,
Washington.
they're going to change the NFL.
Yes.
They run 53 plays in the first half. It was insane.
And they couldn't stop. Remember, like the Redskins are looking at each other. They can't substitute. So you're stuck on the field. It was unbelievable.
It felt like a revolution. It felt like,
Yes.
oh my God, like they are absolutely going to change the league. And for that one night, like no matter what happened, the next 2.5 years of the Chip Kelly era, we will always have that moment as like, oh wow, like we have found something.
Yeah, he changed it for like 4 games.
Yeah.
And then the coordinators
He
started adjusting.
didn't have a plan B ever again, but
Yes.
that's okay.
Yeah.
The plan A, the first night worked to wonders.
Yeah, poor Billy Davis who was saddled with the control of that defense.
Yes.
4th and 26.
Yes.
The Freddie Mitchell game. VG, you're
I mean,
chigger.
I was even a dope who bought a Freddie Mitchell jersey when they drafted him because I like receivers, but games, doesn't really do it for me.
Really?
Nah.
I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I mean, there are the games on this list where it's 4th and 26, the body bag game. Like it's just a one phrase thing that we know what we're talking about. Whereas like the Michael Vick Monday Night Football, you got to talk about it a little bit more. 4th and 26, I feel like is very memorable. And I also think that the most successful period of the Eagles franchise over the past, since 1980 is those first 10 years of Andy. And game-wise, it's a little bit underrepresented on this list, right? So 4th and 26, I think, carries some weight there.
I think I'm just jaded by the antics of Mitchell after the catch.
Yes.
I want to wipe it all out.
Yeah, I agree. And the other problem is what happened the following week against Carolina,
Oh, right.
Yes.
which kind of diminished. Like if you go on and win a Super Bowl or even get to a Super Bowl,
Sure.
you go back to that moment because it's 4th and 26. You pick up the first down. Donovan, first of all, Ed Donatel was the defensive coordinator, I think.
Sounds right.
And so they're playing sticks defense.
Mhm.
How stupid, right? You're playing sticks defense. And Donovan had one thing he had was a gun. And he got that ball
Fires
there.
it in there.
Like he fired in there. First down, right? They go on to tie it, overtime. Brett Favre, for whatever reason, he's back to his end zone and he throws a dot. It would look like when you're a kid and we play football and you would do kickoffs,
Yeah.
you would throw it high in the air.
Yeah.
It looked like it was ridiculous. He threw that
Like
punt.
he's playing 500 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And Brian Dawkins is playing center field and picks it off, winning overtime. So you're right. It was thrilling. But, man, the next week,
Sure.
Deshaun, what was his name? Deshaun, the running back for Carolina. Foster. Thank you, JP. Foster, footprints on Mark Semino's back.
Ooh.
And chest.
That clouds it for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, so many of those, so many games in that era are similar, right? And they never close the deal.
Yep. So you guys have Miracle of the Meadowlands.
I think that's very memorable.
The Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that game very well. I was hosting the post-game show for the PhiladelphiaEagles.com website. Me and Ellis Hobbs are hosting that game, right?
Ellis Hobbs, that's a great
And
name.
they're down 24-3 at halftime, and all of a sudden that second half, it was like it just clicked, and it was in your mind. If you imagine what like the Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson offense could look like, this was the picture of it, and they score 21 points in like 6 minutes of game time to tie it up. And then they get that last defensive stand. And, for some reason, Matt Dodge doesn't kick the ball out of bounds. And I'll never forget like Tom Coughlin slamming the
he told him.
He told him to kick it out of bounds. And, you wonder like if Deshaun doesn't bobble it at first, does he still score? I think probably not, right? Because the rush lets up just a little bit.
Over
it sets
pursue
things
a little
up
bit. Yep.
perfectly. And I mean, unbelievable. And when that happened, we thought that Eagles team had a chance to really win the Super Bowl, right? Like that offense was unstoppable. And then, 5 seconds later, it's welcome to the post-game show presented by Rico, Bo Wulf, and Ellis Hobbs. Here we go.
Did you think about
Rico.
Miracle of the Meadowlands 2?
Yeah,
which
I think
was
that should be on-
Westbrook.
Yes, I think that should be in here
He
too.
saved the season. That punt return saved the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. That should be in here as well.
What do you think about that, VG?
I think one Meadowlands is enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we again, the cutoff was 80.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you got to put the first one,
of course.
Yeah.
which was so ridiculous that Joe Pisarcik, right, bobbles is like it was a handoff. Like I don't know why you weren't kneeling. And then I guess the story was they tried kneeling before and something happened. And so they went back to calling the play. It was some craziness.
Awful.
And Herman Edwards into the end zone.
Do you think that Herm has the same like post-playing career if that play never happens?
No.
Probably not, right?
No. I mean, that was like,
You think?
I think, yeah.
I don't know. It's like an interesting sliding
Yeah.
doors. If he's not known for that, does he go on to be a head coach?
It is an interesting sliding doors. You're right. 17 NFC Championship game.
The biggest party
Yeah, it's a
that
gimme.
this city has seen, right? Like that was unbelievable. As Chris Long said, anybody could have gotten it that night. Like the pregame dancing to Dreams and Nightmares, like everybody going nuts. And then from that first Patrick Robinson pick six, the game was just a rout, and everybody was just absolutely out of their minds. Fantastic.
It was wild too, because
Wild.
I mean, the way the game starts, and they go right down the field.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Then they get the ball back, and they're going down the field again.
Yeah.
And that's when
And
Patrick
then they
Robinson
score again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got the flea flicker touchdown to Torrey Smith. You've got that little the end around to Nelson Aguilar. I mean, they were on fire.
And Foles that's when because remember the week before is Atlanta.
He was not very good.
No.
Yeah. And they got saved by that interception, when Keanu Neal should have intercepted it at the end of the half.
Yes.
And then they get saved there. Yeah, I mean, you still didn't know if Nick was going to be up for it. And certainly nobody could have expected he would be as good as he was in the Super Bowl. But to see him play like that in the NFC Championship game, all of a sudden it felt like, okay, maybe this team can do it.
That was a great. After that NFC Championship game, it was me and Jamie walked back to like Center City, just up Broad Street. It was one of the greatest walks. Like the whole city was just partying. It's a great moment.
And this is one where I think knowing how it ended to go opposite the 4th and 26 is like, because they're going to win the Super Bowl, even that Falcons game, which they didn't play super well, becomes even more memorable in your mind because of what it leads to.
Yeah,
that's when the kids were walking around with the bleep Millie.
Yeah, Billy. Billy was the yeah. Well, that moment of the Foles, off the skulls chant was
they try to take over the art museum steps.
They put panties. They put purple panties on Rocky.
Purple panties.
You remember? Oh my God! All right, couple more quick. The 04 championship game. I think that's high. It was great. The game itself was pretty much dominant. It happened after the nor'easter, so it was cold, blustery.
But it's they finally get over the hump.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and that was fantastic. The 80 championship game, and then of course the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which games were you thinking about?
Well, I mean, they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and there's not a single game from that season in there, right? Like the NFC Championship game win over the Niners. I feel like. It's its own version of the body.
Like you playing quarterback,
but it's like its own version of the body bag game, right? They took out 2 quarterbacks, and then if we're taking losses, we have the Fog Bowl in there, like the Super Bowl itself, the loss to the Chiefs, like that's a pretty memorable game.
That's a game
right?
that should be up there.
And then we didn't even talk about that the game where they run it up. Buddy has them run it up against the
we
Cowboys.
Made
we edited that.
Okay,
we had an executive decision. And we put that in the top 25.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that game because that game is like a victory not just for the rivalry,
exactly,
but it's like a victory for labor.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's such an under talked about story. Could you imagine that happening today? Like if the Dallas Cowboys had half their team cross a picket line,
right?
That's insane.
Insane. And then and then if you go back to the game itself. What coach would call a fake kneel down? Yeah. He throws a bomb right to Quick.
Right.
There's pass interference.
Right. They do a dirty pass interference.
Right.
And then they run it in.
Right. And then they run the ball. They run
so good.
Because most people go, you made your point, right? No, bleep that. We're scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. I love that.
Again, with the Buddy Ryan lure. I mean, you got to be kidding me with that. He had to be stewing on that first game. Like, it's stuck in his crawl the way the Cowboys
because they were running the score up too.
Yeah,
against
the bunch of scabs.
Yeah, and the best was Buddy's take was brilliant, which is I'm not coaching these guys.
Right.
They're not my players.
Yes.
So he didn't coach them.
Right. And his whole thing was I don't care what our guys do. I just want them all to do it together, which is like without saying that he's pro-union, he's saying it, right?
Yes.
It was awesome. Yeah. It was, and then that time of the year, that time of Philadelphia, I mean, I'm a kid, but it was completely night and day, like, the times.
And it's like you want, when you hate the other team as a fan, you want the players to hate that team too. You want the coach to hate that team too. And so when that plays out that way, and you're like, oh man, they really hate him as much as I do. It's like it warms your heart and your angry little heart.
Dude, exactly. And that's why people love Buddy Ryan, right? Like that's why they loved him. People go, oh, he wasn't that good a coach. I agree with that. And he was way better. But the guy was all entertaining, man. Just all entertaining. All right. So here's the deal. Thank you guys for hanging. It's been so much fun going over this. What a blast! If you gotta become a diehard, all right? If you become a diehard, you get to see all this good stuff that we provide. So make sure you check it out, allphly.com, and become a diehard. All right, now we continue. All right. Just before we put it to bed, and then we got TV Todd coming up in just a second. Just curious, What other games? What other moments? You know, and it's funny you mentioned that the Super Bowl itself. You're right. I mean, that probably should be up. That was an amazing
It's
game.
recent, right? So it's hard to think of it in the grander context. But yeah, I mean, that's a super memorable game, I feel like.
And you're right about the Niners. Now I think about it, the Niners game being a blowout, that was an awesome moment.
Hassan standing up on the bench saying, "This is my city." Like, I think that was, and it felt like that. I mean, that, if we're being honest, like that team was probably better than the 17 team, right? Just on paper and how well they played over the course of the season. So it was like the crowning of maybe the best team that the franchise has ever had.
Yeah.
Is the 4th and 26? Is that the only Andy Reid non-playoff game on here?
So the Miracle at the New Meadowlands is Andy.
Oh, okay.
But that's the 2010 season, right? But of that era, like that.
Dude,
it's the only Donovan game, right? Which is.
I mean, seriously, like we missed. There's a bunch of games. T.O.
I was going to say, there's got to be some T.O. games.
Like, first of all, the Super Bowl, the Patriots
Super Bowl,
cheat, like, that's a memorable game.
Yeah.
I mean, T.O.'s first preseason game, right?
Right?
Like,
I mean, exactly.
You know?
I mean, that was amazing.
There's like the Coy Detmer game. Like,
dude, when they destroyed, wow, that was a good one. Coy Detmer, Monday night, I was on the plane. Monday night, San Francisco, he gets hurt, and AJ finishes the game. I was embedded with the team writing a bunch of magazine stories, and I was on the sidelines. It was in the whole thing. It was wild, just a wild. What an amazing scene. Andy tells Detmer, "Whatever you do, don't do." He used to do the whip, right? Remember? And Andy found it. He didn't like it. Thought it was vulgar. Don't do it. He did it. Andy gets pissed. Andy goes, "I was going to." He actually was going to take him out of the game. He was so mad. He throws a touchdown against the Niners, right? And he does the whip thing. Andy was going to replace him.
It's so funny.
And then they had to talk him out of it and say, no, let him in, let him stay.
It's so funny, all the things that Andy puts up with and the guys that he welcomes to his team who have done all kinds of stuff. That's right. That's the thing. That's a bridge too far.
Right. No, he was going to take him out of the game.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gets mauled, and he dislocated his elbow. Like, I'll never forget he's all.
He had it coming. He was doing the whip.
Yeah, right. It was karma. He was all medicated. He's walking on the plane, and he's got it's like cast. So he's walking like this, to go into the back of the plane to get to sit. It was wild. That was an amazing. AJ comes in, and that's when AJ. They had 3 division games to end the season, and they got home field, and AJ won them all.
And then they ended up getting a 2nd-round pick for him.
Yeah.
Just that stretch.
Yeah.
The double doink game could have been on there.
Yes.
Probably a little bit lower on the list, but it's a memorable game, right? Cody Parkey.
What do you think about McNabb's broken leg game?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. That was memorable.
Is there a specific game from the Jeff Garcia run?
Oh, yes. Merry Christmas, Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I forgot about that one. That was the great.
What does he call himself?
The El Pistolero. El Pistolero. Jeff Garcia. It was unbelievable. I'll never forget. Like, they beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then he's being interviewed. Merry Christmas, Philadelphia. Wow. That was great. That was good stuff. Good stuff.
44-6.
No, I love 44-6.
Oh, that's a great one.
No, 44-6
That's a great one.
was
That
awesome.
should be on here. Yeah.
I love 44-6.
That's a great
I
one.
mean, there was just so many games that we could do.
Yeah,
but that's a great one. I agree. 44-6 was awesome.
That should be on there. Yeah. Because, I mean, so many things had to happen for that game to even matter, right? And then for them to, against the Cowboys, just absolutely romp.
Was there a Wentz game?
That's the thing. That 2017 season, like, they blew everybody out.
Yeah. He makes the play against Washington where he spins out of the.
Yeah, that was really nice. I remember thinking that the Thursday night win in Carolina was when we were like, okay, this team is really good. That was their first, like, really
short week on the road.
Yeah. Fletcher Cox had played through, like, a really bum ankle and was dominant in that game.
The Rams game. When he rips the ACL and he still makes a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's good stuff. I got to tell you, Bo. Great stuff, man. A lot of fun as always.
Yeah, you guys are going to battle this out later on?
Yeah, a little bit.
Nice.
Oh, I love it. What time?
Noon.
High noon.
Right here.
Bo Zach.
Pistols up.
All right. Right here in this studio.
Pistolero.
I love it. So make sure you're watching. All right. It is that time on a Friday where we figure out what we're watching. TV Todd. Act like a man. You can't handle the truth.
It's time for TV Todd.
Hello, Todd. Woo. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good, pal. Real good.
You getting excited for the new Anthony Hopkins series?
Whoa.
How old is he at this point?
Wait, is he in that series that I told you about?
He is the star of that series, cuz.
Okay, so I text Todd. All right? Because I get this email from Peacock, and it's about this show. And I was like, wow, it's a Gladiator series.
Okay.
And I went, no, I didn't even know that he was the star. I just screenshot it and texted you because I was like, dude, is this any good? Tell me about it.
I've been waiting for this series for a while now. So it's not just a Gladiator series. You're going to love this even more. So the series is called Those About to Die, and it's on Peacock, as you've said. And Peacock released all 10 episodes of it at one time, which, you know, we debate this all the time. I tend to love it. But at the end of the day, this has been a much talked about series. Yep, Tony Hopkins. We can call him Tony, right? I think we can do that at this
Sir
point.
Anthony? He's calling him Tony? Sir Anthony.
He's Tony. He's
Jeez.
Tony. And Tony Hopkins
Just don't call me Tony.
would never do that. Would never do that. So in this series, he plays the emperor, right? He's the emperor, and he's trying to sort of, from what I can tell, he's trying to pass the throne onto his, a variety of his sons, and he has a couple sons that are, good, ne'er-do-wells, whatever. But let's get into the aspect that I think you're really going to love. It's not just about gladiators. Yes, they watch gladiators in combat. That's one of the things they do, lions, all that kind of stuff. But here's the best part and why I'm excited and why we probably need to get the brain on this one. A big part of this show, from what I'm told, has to do with the gambling aspect around chariot races.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So there's a whole storyline in here about chariot racing and betting on chariot racing. There's bookies. There's guys who kind of, look at the track, and if the track is wet the night before, they don't know if it'll be slow or not. And also, they discuss taking in-play bets.
Get out of here. Are you serious? There's the brain. The brain. Well, that's all started in ancient Rome.
We got to get the brain on this one. But I'm excited for this. It seems like big budget, big cinema quality type show. Anthony Hopkins, who doesn't love him in everything he's in pretty much. So I'm pretty excited. When you texted me, I said, yeah, I'm going to talk about this one on Friday.
Yeah, I was so excited. I saw it. I didn't even know anything about it. I just saw that email. I go, look at this. So I said it to you, and I said it to my wife. I go, we got a show because we've been kind of languishing. I haven't found anything that we are excited about, but because her and I have similar tastes.
Yeah, well, it's it is a weird period right now. I mean, with shows. I mean, the big release this week. I mean, Those About to Die obviously is the big one as far as I'm concerned. But the big one this week was the Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah.
Cobra Kai is in its, I guess it's its 6th season. This is the final season.
Yeah.
And what they decided to do was release half of the season now. So they released, I think, 5 episodes. And then, I guess due to the popularity of all of this, they decided to move up the release of part 2. And they're gonna release part 2 sometime, I think, in November now. But, that was the big one. For me, listen, I'll give that show, Cobra Kai on Netflix, all the credit in the world for perfecting a reboot of an 80s piece of intellectual property. absolutely did it flawlessly. I thought it lost a lot of steam, but people love it, think it's fun. So, it does well.
So my kids love it. My Massimo is obsessed. I've seen every episode. Like, we do Cobra Kai nights. Me, Massimo, Anthony, my cousin Joey, like, we all watch the Cobra Kai.
Todd, you're spot on, though. Definitely lost some steam, for sure. Maybe one season too many.
Yeah, I think so. And listen, we've talked about it on this show. The American model of television is you get something that's successful, you beat it into the ground.
Yeah.
And if that show would have come on and been, 2-3 seasons and out, it would be, probably even more legendary than it is. But listen, everybody loves it because my family did the same thing. My daughter loves it. We do family nights. So I get it, as hokey as it is. And listen, the movies were hokey.
Yeah, exactly. But I got to tell you, I love it. And for what it is to me, you can look at it. Like, I'm not going to go after it, with a critical eye. I'm going to go, this is fun. Potato chips.
You're a big Ralph guy too, no?
Yes, I do like him.
Yeah.
He's great. My cousin Vinny, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Ralph Macchio. You said I was thinking the other guy. What's the other guy? I love the other guy better.
I forgot his last name for a second. That's why I said
No,
Ralph.
what's the guy in the show? The blonde hair guy.
Oh, damn.
He's the best.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
hilarious in that show.
Ian Zierling?
No, but what's his character name?
Oh, I don't know.
Ian Ziering's from 90210.
Yeah, Johnny. I love Johnny. Johnny's the best because Johnny doesn't know technology. Like, he's just a dude, like, from the 80s, right? Like, so he's stuck in there. That was his, that was the high point of his life. And, now he still likes the best. He's still, he's rock and roll. Dude, he's
Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah, Johnny's the best.
William Zappa.
I love Johnny
I've
Lawrence.
never seen the movie or Cobra Kai.
You gotta love. You would love Johnny's character.
He's pounding the high lifes. Like, yeah.
He cracks me up, Johnny.
Yeah. I'm not sure if VG would like this or not. If I had to bet on it, I would say I'd say he's out.
You don't like gimmicks.
I like gimmicks. I'm all in on it. Todd, I blasted through Traders US this week. Oh, man, that's fantastic.
Great show. One of my favorite, game shows.
Yeah.
One of my favorite game shows out there right now. And by the way, Traders is one of the most massive hits internationally. It's the biggest piece of intellectual property right now in that space. And again, my family, my daughter and I, we love that show.
Yeah, it's really
well done. It's a
done.
great premise. Tell them about the premise.
I mean, it's just like you're like watching a murder mystery dinner kind of thing that takes place over, 12 episodes. There's 21 people, and someone dies every night. There's a traitor amongst traders amongst the group, and someone dies each night, and they try and find a traitor every day, and they kick someone out, and sometimes they don't kick out traitors. They miss a lot.
Oh,
so it's pretty good. So at the end,
it's a brilliant idea.
At the end, there's a giant pot of money. So if it's us three and we're all not traders and we agree to do it, we just split the 200 G's or whatever.
I'm in.
That's good.
But if one of us is a trader, the trader gets all the money and we would get nothing.
So everything's before the show starts, before the game starts, 3 are designated as traders.
2, I think, at the beginning.
And then I think they pick a third.
Yeah, they do pick a third. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's great. It's great. As VG said, it's like this combination of like Clue and Survivor competition shows. And it's based off of there's a game that kids play called Mafia. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
It's a similar game that kids play where they kind of pick somebody who's the traitor and they go. It's based off of that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to probably go through the UK version now that I finished the US version.
Ooh.
I watched the UK version. It's great. Every version is a little bit different, but I mean, similar, obviously, setting, but the characters are different. In the UK, it's basically non-celebrities, but in our version in the US, there's a lot of like reality shows, celebrities.
I hate that there's reality celebrities, and some of them have pre-existing relationships, which makes it a little weird.
Yeah, but twists and turns, it's an awesome show.
Yeah.
The greatest part of that conversation was VG goes, I think I'm going to watch the UK version. And Todd says, I already watched it. That's why you're TV Todd.
Listen, I am absolutely fascinated with the shows like that, the format shows that you do it in one country and then you could sell it all over the world. And listen, it's my dream. So I watch that all the time.
Yeah, you and I both, buddy.
Too.
Yeah. I'll devour Love Island UK's next for me too.
Here's the thing. I know your work schedule. Where do you find the time to watch the UK version of Traitors?
It's awful. I don't sleep much, and I love this stuff. I fit it in all the free moments that I have. You know, my wife will tell you if I have a lunch break, I don't just take a normal lunch break. I run to the theater and I use my movie pass and I see something. Yeah. I just I fill the time with content.
That's all. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Todd, I gave Cuz a recommendation today, and I'm going to throw it to you too. So, as everyone knows, I'm a huge Colombian national soccer team fan. So, 94 is an infamous one where Andres Escobar scores the own goal, and Colombia was really favored in that World Cup. He comes back a month later after Colombia gets eliminated. He dies. He gets shot. They killed him. So, obviously, everyone knows the 30 for 30, the two Escobars. Well, Netflix 2 years ago dropped the final score, but in Spanish, goles en contra. And it's a 6-part series. It's very similar to Narcos, as some of the same actors from Narcos are in this one as well. So, 6-part series. I love biopics in general. You give me a biopic, I'll watch it on anything. So I threw it to Cuz to watch because he gave me it was a great story you gave me about that soccer player.
There was a piece in the Washington Post about, it was fascinating story about a soccer player in Uruguay who was one of the biggest drug traffickers in all of South America. How he basically bought his way onto all these teams, but he was a player. He loved soccer. He loved to play, and he'd walk in like with drive up Lamborghinis, and he wasn't that good. Like, he was okay, and he would buy his way on the teams, and he would he wanted to take a goal kick to win a game. He paid everybody $10,000, so he would be the one to kick the goal, take the goal kick. He killed people right off the stadium. It was bizarre. And then he hid all over Europe and in other parts of South America. So the story's wild. It was in the Washington Post. And
that's really cool.
And then he told me about the series. I'm in on that show. I'll definitely
Final
watch
score, Todd. About Andres
I'm going to check it out, JP. Thanks for that
on
recommendation. I thought of you the other night. I know you're a huge soccer guy. And I went down to see the U.S. women's team play their send-off match before they headed off to the Olympics. But I thought about you because I don't get to many soccer matches, but it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, Todd. I love that.
All right. Before you have anything else, because I have one thing for you.
Yeah, I just want to plug a movie in the theaters right now, Long Legs. Have you heard about this one?
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of hype.
Yes.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage is a serial killer.
Yeah.
It's an FBI agent hunting down a serial killer that I think she finds out she has a connection to. But Nicolas Cage is getting tons of great reviews for his portrayal of the serial killer. So Long Legs is in the theater right now.
Best actor of our generation.
I can't
love
deny that.
He's not the best. Listen, he's good.
For me, he is. I love
better
his work.
than Leo.
Yeah, Leo's
a great actor.
Same role every time.
No.
Nick's way more versatile.
I'll be honest with you. I was always a Depp fan. I think Depp is a great actor.
He's all right. Cage.
He was more than all right. He was more than all right. In his prime, he was fantastic.
His range, he could do anything. He was amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing role, right? Was when he plays Donnie Brasco. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, first of all, okay. Nightmare on Elm Street was his first movie, so we'll put that aside for a second. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Oh my God! But I'm talking about
out of the gate.
They always want to paint him that he does weird characters, right? What was the one which was it was actually a great. I love the movie. It was that with the Headless Horseman.
Oh, the Tim Burton film.
Yes.
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. He was unbelievable. Like I love that movie. It was a great movie. He was terrific. He did Jock a lot. Like he could do all those period pieces, all the weird characters. But then he does like with Donnie Brasco, where he's just, he's basically this FBI agent, and he was unbelievable in it. Like it just shows you his range, that he wasn't just let's play dress up like people say.
Yeah.
I got this for you real quick. You are an amazing Flyers guy. We've been doing all week the rankings of the most memorable games. Give me your top 3 of these 10. All right?
Yep. 2019
Stadium Series, Penguins at the Link. 1997 Eastern Conference Finals against the Rangers, where Lindros has the hat trick. The 2004 brawl against the Senators. The shootout game against the Rangers. Stanley Cup Final in 2010. Stanley Cup Final, Game 3 against the Blackhawks. 2004 Round 2, Game 6 against Toronto. The 5 overtime game where Primo scores in 2000. The 2012 game against the Penguins. The 2004 Eastern Conference Finals against the Lightning. The 2010 Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 against Boston. Or the 87 Cup Finals against Edmonton. Now, we didn't go past 1980. That's why none of the Cup games are on this list.
Well, that was a hell of a list right there. I don't know that I can even recall everything you just read, but I'll tell you a couple that stand out for me that are on that list. 5 overtime games, of course. I remember every second of it, staying awake. My wife saying, "I can't believe you're still awake." Literally on Primo's goal, I got up and I ran down the street. I ran out of the house, down the street. I had so much energy. Then I'm gonna just say the 2 in 2010 for me. The shootout win to propel us into the playoffs, and then, that Boston series and that Boston win. I will never, ever forget that. I was there for every game in that series at Wells Fargo with my father, and Danny Briere was my coach in fantasy camp, and he told me that of everything he's ever done in his career, that was the moment for him.
Let's play with some job. Dude, that's the greatest. Fantastic. Todd, we love you, buddy. I'll call you
Love
later.
you guys.
All right?
See you, Todd.
See you, Todd.
There he is.
guys.
TV Todd. Everybody, that was a lot of fun, man.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was a good day, man.
Good day.
We'll do
Good
some
day.
more ranks, guys. Do
Yeah.
some more ranks.
That was good stuff. All right, so everybody, have a great day. Andrew did a great job.
Nice work, Andrew.
Skeeves was fantastic today. Everybody, we love you. All right, it's Friday. Enjoy yourself. Have a couple for us. We'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.